Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-hostess with the mostest, PaPa Pacelli.
Hostess? You assuming my gender there?
Sorry. Co-host with the most.
It's okay.
There we go. Sorry.
There you go. No, that's fine. I just wanted to rag on
fighting
you.
words on Friday if you had some Kraken in you.
Oh yeah. Dude, I don't get belligerent when I drink, do I?
No.
Okay.
But I might. It's not, anyway, I apologize. I didn't even think.
I've never heard you drunk, so I don't know.
I don't know.
At least I don't think so.
It's usually me going up to a woman at the party. Oh, you're beautiful. That sort of thing.
Oh, it's that whiskey induced courage, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a valid medicinal use of alcohol, in my opinion.
Anyway, I'll say hi to the chat. Good evening, Adrian Trump chat. At this rate, I won't be surprised if Ezra Miller is committing another crime during this
I know, right?
I have to tell you. Big Al, hope you guys have a great stream, you geezers. So looking forward to Cobra Kai.
I know.
Everybody, as it seems.
Although when Cobra Kai's over, I'm not sure that they'll have anything left on the channel.
You know what? The good news is maybe Cobra Kai can finish off before Netflix collapses, right?
Yeah, exactly. But once they do, I think they won't be around to prop up Netflix. So, you know.
I know they're trying to get the Duffer Brothers to do another more seasons of more series for them, but
we'll see.
D Pensek, Rosefire, welcome. Deleted scenes, hello. Hail to everyone. Okay, I'll take that. D Pensek, Joshua V. If I missed
all the usual suspects, Matanui.
Horizon Talker. And is sitting in my freezer. I'm afraid to crack it open, or I'll eat the whole thing. Yeah, this is when you got to have some company over. Maybe have a. Otherwise, I do love those myself. I was at a Perkins today. They have an Oreo pie now. Did you know?
Oh, those are good. Sure.
I was tempted to get a slice, but I said no, not right now. If they had it's funny. I was at Perkins, and they usually have a deal where you can get like a soft drink or a drink with it, and a piece of pie for like $3.99. It's like a combo thing if you add it onto a meal.
Sure.
But apparently they stopped doing it there because only certain Perkins do that.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird because I did ask the waitress because I was curious what the order was, and that's all right.
Yeah.
There'll be another time to get it. Liquid Courage, as D Pensik says, yes.
Exactly.
Netters Network, last but certainly not least. Except she's not last because I got Matanui to talk about. Okay, welcome.
There you go.
Okay. And
so Big Al said he loved Perkins. Are they not around anymore?
I got to tell you, a lot of chains are closing up. We used to have an IHOP in the town that the Perkins was in because we would have gone there, but IHOP is gone.
What's killer is, these kinds of franchises were existing on the margins to begin with. Then the pandemic hit, and they just couldn't survive. So many places have closed up. And, heaven forbid, 2.5 years ago, you said that would happen because, you don't care about grandma dying. Well,
yeah, I know.
That's fine. That's fine. Grandma's going to die when she loses her business and she loses her pension. And, she can't afford to take care of herself.
It is, I have to say, another thing. Like I was at Perkins today, and they didn't have any waffles.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, is this a supply chain issue?
Yeah.
Like you're starting to go into restaurants.
If it gets that bad, they better just buy themselves a good old-fashioned waffle iron and start making them the old-fashioned way. If you can make pancakes, you can make Belgian waffles.
Oh, that's so weird. Okay, maybe they have a special mix for the Belgian waffles that they have to use. We have an IHOP here. Well, good. What'd she say?
What were you saying?
Making bacon pancakes.
Making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and you put them in a pancake. Bacon pancakes. Some of the people in the chat catch that reference.
I've never had bacon pancakes. I did get I did get a bacon waffle once with bacon in the waffle.
That sounds good too.
Yeah, that one.
If you really want to, what you do is you take and you make your bacon real crispy, chop it up into bacon bits, right, and then you sprinkle it over your your waffle with syrup. Really, really good. Really good. Netter doesn't like sweet, sweet and meat going together. So she doesn't like glazed ham. She doesn't like, the bacon bits in the
No
syrup
sweet and
or
sour
anything like
chicken
that.
for her.
No, that's
Yeah.
my thing. That's my
Right.
thing. Yeah.
It's all right. It's not for everybody. I don't mind it. It depends.
Auditor Dread got it. Auditor Dread got it. Yep.
Is that
In
eventually-
fact,
okay.
on YouTube, I've seen them take that little snippet and turn it into like a full remix song. It's pretty cool.
What makes Belgian waffles different from regular waffles, and how can you make them at home?
Okay, so a Belgian waffle is. I'm not sure if the flavor is different. They might put nutmeg and vanilla into it, but the important thing is that Belgian waffles are much thicker than what you'd call regular waffles or mass-produced waffles, and they're made the same way. You make a batter and you press it between two cast iron grills, basically. It's the same way that those, you ever seen those waffle cones? That's basically what waffle cones are, just very thin waffles. And as soon as you take them out, you roll them up because then they harden.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Belgian waffle was the thicker kind that you find in most restaurants.
Exactly. They're the ones that are really good for using them for desserts, like putting ice cream over them or something like that.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Is this historical fact or not? I heard that there was a story of the invention of the ice cream cone, that it happened at the World's Fair, and that there was a man selling ice cream, and the ice cream was selling hot, selling so well that he ran out of plates, like as paper plates. And then there was the waffle guy who couldn't sell his waffles at his waffle stand. And then he went, "Hey, I have an idea. Why don't we share the profits? You could serve your ice cream on my waffles." And they did that, and hence the invention of the ice cream cone.
I've heard that story too, and I don't know if it's true, but boy, it's a great story, right? If nothing else, it would make for great marketing.
Yeah, and I
my mom never made waffles, but she did have the flatter ones for making basically what you'd make waffle cones from. She got hers at an Italian store because Italians used to make
It is a true story.
Netter said it is a true story because she looked it up.
I love pizzelles.
Pizzelles literally are just flat cookies made from waffle batter, very thin, crispy. It's basically a waffle cone that's not rolled up, and you have this flat cookie, and you put powdered sugar on it and just eat them like that. That was our primary what do you call it, Christmas cookie in our house.
Pizzelles are nice. They actually were selling them in the store. They had a brand you could buy. Like there's some company.
Yeah, no, Rosefire is saying that it's an urban legend because there's no valid proof, but it's one of those things that, and I've run into this so many times with the stories of how certain drinks came into existence. You'll have a bar, for example, that claims that they're
It's on the International Dairy Foods Association webpage.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of circular references. You can't prove it, but there's enough people that quote it that you kind of have to go with it. There's bars that say, yeah, we're the bar that came up with the idea of the Moscow Mule, and they'll go into this whole story about why they use copper mugs and all this other stuff. You can't prove or disprove it, but it's been a part of their marketing for so long. It's just assumed to be true. Because you can only, historians can only say, well, we trace the Moscow Mule back to this point, and it matches up with this story, so we pretty much got to go with it, But yes, thank you, Deleted Scenes. Like and subscribe to Aged Boomer. He's been growing lately, and it's really, really a good thing. I like to think I contributed a little bit because as I've been guesting on other channels, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And on Sunday, I'll be on Aged Boomer's channel for Geeky Geezers. And,
I appreciate that. Thank you. And
so, we grow together. That's how it works.
A lot of great channels he's been mentioning here, too. I also recommend you check them out. Give them a sub. Watch a video, as Netter says, because otherwise YouTube will think you're not a serious subscriber.
And pay attention to all the links that Netter and Deleted Scenes are dropping. They won't steer you wrong.
So speaking of, so I guess legends, but I choose to believe the legend about the ice cream cone. And speaking of another legend, I will be talking about
Gosh,
Robin of
yeah.
Sherwood Tuesday on Mr. Matchstick stream.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to hear anything from you.
What?
Are you going to say Robin Hood didn't exist? Say he does.
Oh, well, no, it's the same
Hey!
kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing, right? You can't prove that he existed. But
Yeah,
just like King Arthur, it's probably based on something real. In fact, could be
yeah.
multiple people that he was based on.
It's weird that when you think about it, King Arthur was a legend in Robin Hood's time.
Mm-hmm.
There's an episode of Robin of Sherwood that deals with the Arthurian legend. I'm not going to
Yep.
say what. It's a big shocker at the end. You realize, oh, this woman, this family that's been guarding the sacred sword, the sword they're guarding, and they were trying to. The Robin Hood gang was keeping it from another gang of thieves that were trying to steal the sword. And you find out later on, the sword is Excalibur.
That's cool. That's
and
pretty
then you
cool.
actually see the Knights of the Round Table, their visages, and I think they show up at the last minute. And I don't know if they take the sword for safekeeping at Avalon or something. It's this really poignant
That's
moment,
good.
and it's like I don't normally see the two of them mixing, but you realize, oh, and of course, in this version of Robin Hood, the King Arthur legend is all true. Yeah, so
I love that. That's good. Which makes sense because you're dealing in a world where Robin Hood is absolutely real. So why not, right?
Robin Hood was real. We know that he still lives in our hearts. Yeah, and including, unfortunately, some people who just passed away.
Yeah. Talk about a legend.
I mean, we're going to talk about.
Should we talk about the good old days?
Yeah.
Before we get into the sad news, let's get into the good old days.
Olivia Newton-John.
So Olivia Newton-John is definitely someone who had a huge impact. And as I go through this, I'll kind of share the impact that she's had on me. This is going back a ways. So for some of y'all, this is like old people talk. That's why you tune into Geeky Geezers. So we're going back to the early 70s on this one. So I put these in. I spent a lot of time on these notes. So bear with me. We might be at this a little bit. So Dom Olivia Newton-John. Yes, Dom Olivia Newton-John. Order of Australia, most excellent order of the British Empire, from 26 September 1948 to August 8th, 2022. British Australian singer, actress, and activist. She was a 4-time Grammy Award winner whose music career included 5 #1 hits and many other top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 and 2 #1 albums on the Billboard 200, If You Love Me, Let Me Know in 1974 and Have You Never Been Mellow in 1975. 11 of her singles, including 2 platinum, and 14 of her albums, including 2 platinum and 4 double platinum, have been certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America, with global sales of more than 100 million records. Newton-John is one of the best-selling music artists of the second half of the 20th century to the present. In 1978, Newton-John starred in the musical film Grease and became the highest-grossing musical film ever, or that became the highest grossing musical film ever at the time, and whose soundtrack remains one of the world's best-selling albums of all time. It features 2 hit duets with the co-star John Travolta, You're the One That I Want, which was one of the best-selling singles of all time, and Summer Nights. Her signature solo recordings include the record of the year Grammy winner I Honestly Love You in 1974 and Physical in 1981. Billboard Hot 100 highest rating single of the late 1980s. Other defining hits include If Not For You and Banks of the Ohio, both in 1971. That's the year I was born. Let Me Be There in 1973, which I'll get back to later. It kind of inspired me to in my musical endeavors. If You Love Me, Let Me Know, 1974. Have You Never Been Mellow, 1975. Sam, 1977. Hopelessly Devoted to You, 1978, also from Greece. A Little More Love, 1978. And from the 1980 film Xanadu, Magic and Xanadu with Electric Light Orchestra. She battled breast cancer 3 times, was an advocate for breast cancer research. She also was an advocate for environmental and animal rights causes. Now, I'm going to try not to go too deep into her history, but it is incredibly interesting just because she's got an interesting family. Olivia was born 26 September 1948 in Cambridge, England, to Brinley Newton-John, 1914 to 1992, and Irene Helen, maiden name born, in 19 who lived from 1914 to 2003. Her father was born in Wales to a middle-class family and was an MI5 officer of the Enigma project at Batchley Park, who took Rudolf Hess into custody during World War II.
Oh my God! Oh wow!
Her mother was born in Germany and had come to the UK with her family in 1933 to escape the Nazi regime.
Wow.
Olivia's maternal grandfather was the German Jewish Nobel Prize winning physicist Max Born. A quick side note on Max Born. He was instrumental in the development of quantum mechanics. He also made contributions to solid-state physics and optics and supervised the work of a number of notable physicists in the 20s and 30s. He won the 1954 Nobel Prize in Physics for his fundamental research in quantum mechanics, especially in the statistical interpretation of the wave function. So all you people talking about Schrodinger's cat and the double slit experiment, that's Olivia Newton-John's grandfather who laid the groundwork for all of that. Yeah.
I might have written about him. I had a physics for poets class, which is basically a science class for English majors that are too dumb to do the math. But different talents, right?
And you would not, if you're writing an article about him, you wouldn't say, "Oh, and he was the grandfather of Olivia Newton."
No, I didn't even think of it, but I did my paper for the class on string theory, and I'm sure I went.
There you go. In 1954, when she was 6, the Newton-John family emigrated to Melbourne, Australia, where her father worked as a professor of German and as the master of Ormond College at the University of Melbourne. She attended Christchurch Grammar School in the Melbourne suburb of South Yarra, and then the University High School in Parkville. At age 14, she formed Sol 4, a short-lived all-girl group with 3 classmates, often performing in coffee shops owned by her brother-in-law. She became a regular on local Australian television shows, including Time for Terry and HSV7, The Happy Show. This is going back a ways, where she performed as Lovely Livy.
Oh.
She also appeared on The Go Show, where she met her future duet partner, singer Pat Carroll, and her future music producer, John Farrar. He'll come up a lot. In 1965, she entered and won a talent contest on the television program Sing, 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 performing the song Anyone Who Had a Heart and Everything Comes Up Roses. Her prize was a trip to Great Britain. Olivia recorded her first single, Till You Say You'll Be Mine, in Britain for Decca Records in '66. When Pat Carroll moved to the UK, the two formed the duet called Pat and Olivia and toured nightclubs in Europe. After Carroll's visa expired, forcing her to return to Australia, Olivia remained in Britain to pursue solo work until 1975. She released her first solo album, If Not For You, in 1971, again, the year I was born. In the UK, the album was known as Olivia Newton-John. Well, that's very original. The title track, written by Bob Dylan, was her first international hit. Her follow-up single, Banks of the Ohio, was a top 10 in the UK and Australia. She was voted Best British Female Vocalist 2 years in a row by the magazine Record Mirror. She made frequent appearances on Cliff Richard's weekly show, It's Cliff Richards, and starred with him in the telefilm The Chase. He'll come up in her future history, too. In 1973, she released Let Me Be There. The song reached America's top 10 on the pop, country, and adult contemporary charts and earned her a Grammy for Best Country Female Vocalist in an Academy of Country Music Award for the most promising female vocalist. I think this is where I want to point out that this was the song that, of course, brought her to my attention. It's a great example of good use of background singers, and the bass singer on that stood out so much to me that the idea of the importance of the bass part was, highlighted to me. So when I did start pursuing music and took the trombone, that was a bit of my inspiration. Her second American album, named Let Me Be There after the hit single, was her third in Britain, where it is known as Music Makes My Day. It is also called Let Me Be There in Australia. In the United States, Olivia's success in country music sparked a debate among purists who took issue with a foreigner singing country-flavored pop music being classed with native Nashville artists. In addition to her Grammy for Let Me Be There, Newton-John was also named the Country Music Association's Female Vocalist in the year 1974, defeating more established Nashville-based nominees, including Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Tanya Tucker, as well as Canadian artist Anne Murray, all of whom I love. So I would have been hard-pressed if I was on that committee. This protest in part led to the formation of the short-lived Association of Country Entertainers. Newton-John was eventually supported by the country music community. Stella Parton, Dolly's sister, recorded Ode to Olivia, and Newton-John recorded her 1976 Don't Stop Believin' in Nashville, Tennessee. Olivia left the UK and moved to the US. She topped the pop and country album charts with her next album, Have You Never Been Mellow, Have You Never Been Mellow. For 45 years, Olivia held the Guinness World Record for the shortest gap, 154 days, by a female between new number one albums, If You Love Me, Let Me Know, and Have You Never Been Mellow, on the Billboard 200 album charts. The album If You Love Me, Let Me Know generated two singles, the John Farrar penned title track and Please Mr. Please. Her pop career cooled with the release of her next album, Clearly Love. Her streak of 5 consecutive gold top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100 ended when the album's first single, Something Better to Do, stopped at number 13. Her album still achieved gold status, and she returned to the top 10 of the Hot 100 and Billboard 200 charts again in '78. Newton-John's singles continued to top the adult contemporary chart, where she amassed 10 number one singles, including a record 7 consecutively. I Honestly Love You, 1974. Have You Never Been Mellow, 1975. Please Mr. Please, 1975. Something Better to Do, 1975. Let It Shine, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, 1976. Come On Over, 1976, and Don't Stop Believin', 1976. In 70, yeah, you remember that one?
I do, yes.
In 1977, the single Sam, a mid-tempo waltz from Don't Stop Believin', returned her to the number one spot on the adult contemporary charts. Her Making a Good Thing Better album was not certified gold, though its only single, the title track, it was certified gold, but its only single did not reach the adult contemporary top 10. Later that year, Olivia Newton-John's greatest hits became her first platinum album. That was the first Olivia Newton-John album that I listened to. My uncle had that album. Olivia was appointed officer of the Order of the British Empire in 1979's New Year's honors. In 2020, she would be appointed Dom Commander of the Order of the British Empire for service to charity, cancer research, and entertainment. Her career soared after she starred in the film adaptation of the Broadway musical Grease in 1978. For those of you that are, not old enough to remember that would be kind of like the High School Musical of the 70s. Concerned that she was too old to play a high school senior, she was 28 at the filming of Grease. Olivia insisted on a screen test with the film's co-lead John Travolta. The film accommodated her Australian accent by recasting her character from the play's original American Sandy Dombrowski to Sandy Olsen, an Australian who holidayed in the United States and then moved there with her family. Olivia previewed some of the film's soundtracks during her second American network television special, Olivia, featuring guests ABBA and Andy Gibb. Grease became the biggest box office hit in 1978. The soundtrack album spent 12 non-consecutive weeks at number one and yielded 3 top 5 singles for Olivia. The platinum, You're the One That I Want with John Travolta, the gold, Hopelessly Devoted to You, and the gold, Summer Nights with John Travolta in the film's cast. Olivia became the second woman after Linda Ronstadt in 1977 to have 2 singles, Hopelessly Devoted to You and Summer Nights, in the Billboard Top 5 simultaneously. Her performance earned her a People's Choice Award for Favorite Film Actress. She was nominated for a Golden Globe as Best Actress in a Musical and performed the Oscar-nominated Hopelessly Devoted to You at the 1979 Academy Awards. Newton-John's transformation in Grease from Goody Goody Sandy 1 to skin-tight leather-clad Sandy 2 emboldened Olivia to do the same with her music career. In November 1978, she released her next studio album, Totally Hot, which became her first solo top 10 album since Have You Never Been Mellow. Dressed on the cover in all leather, Newton-John capitalized on her new Sandy 2 look that was introduced at the end of Grease. Moreover, Totally Hot single, A Little More Love, Deeper Than the Night, and the title track all demonstrated more aggressive and up-tempo sound for Newton-John. That was probably corresponding with young Troy going through puberty, so there was some impact there too. Olivia began 1980 by releasing I Can't Help It, a duet with Andy Gibb from her After Dark album, and by starring in her third television special, Hollywood Nights. Later that year, she appeared in her first film since Grease, when she starred with Gene Kelly and Michael Beck in the musical fantasy Xanadu. Although the film was a critical failure, the soundtrack was certified double platinum and scored 5 top 20 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Olivia charted with Magic, Suddenly, again with Cliff Richards, and the title song Xanadu with the Electric Light Orchestra. The film since has become a cult classic, and I personally led a panel about 2 years ago on my channel doing an analytical watch party of the film, and you can see it right here, dropping the link. In 1981, Olivia released her most successful studio album, the double platinum Physical, which strongly reinforced her image change from, that had a double gate spread album art. Anyway, strongly reinforced her image change by showcasing risque, rock-oriented material. Physical earned Olivia her only placement on the R&B singles and album charts. The Physical album spawned 2 more singles, Make a Move on Me and Landslide. The provocative lyrics of the Physical title track prompted 2 Utah radio stations to ban the single from their playlist. In 2010, Billboard magazine ranked this as the most popular single ever about sex. To counter its overtly suggestive tone, Olivia filmed an exercise-themed video that turned the song into an aerobics anthem and ended up making headbands and leg warmers fashion accessories outside of the gym. She helped pioneer the nascent music video industry by recording a video album for Physical, featuring videos of all the album's tracks and 3 of her older hits. The video album earned her a 4th Grammy and was aired as an ABC Prime Time special, Let's Get Physical, becoming a top 10 Nielsen hit. The success of Physical led to an international tour and the release of her second hits collection and double platinum, Olivia's Greatest Hits Volume 2, which yielded more top 40 singles, Heart Attack and Tied Up. That was actually one of my first albums that young Troy owned. The tour was filmed for her Olivia in Concert television special, which premiered on HBO in January 1983. The special was subsequently released to video, earning Newton-John another Grammy nomination. Olivia reteamed with Travolta in 1983 for the critically and commercially unsuccessful Two of a Kind, redeemed by its platinum soundtrack, featuring Twist of Fate, Living in Desperate Times, and a new duet with John Travolta, Take a Chance. Olivia released another video package, the Grammy-nominated Twist of Fate, featuring videos of her 4 songs on the Two of a Kind soundtrack and the 2 new singles from Olivia Newton-John's Greatest Hits Volume 2. The same year, Olivia Newton-John and Pat Farrar, formerly Pat Carroll that we mentioned earlier, founded Koala Blue, a store originally for Australian imports, evolved into a chain of women's clothing boutiques. The chain was initially successful, but eventually declared bankruptcy and closed in '92. Newton-John and Farrar later licensed the brand name for a line of Australian wines, which, as I happen to know, are available by import here in the United States. After nearly 3-year hiatus following the birth of her daughter Chloe in 1986, Olivia resumed her recording career with the 1988 album The Rumor. The album was promoted by an HBO special, Olivia Newton-John Down Under, and its first single, the title track, was written and produced by Elton John. Both the single and the album faltered commercially, but the album was praised by critics as more mature, with Newton-John addressing topics such as AIDS, the environment, and single-parent households. So I know that was quite a bit. That took us through the half-hour mark of the show, and I'm sorry, but obviously this is someone that I am incredibly passionate about. And
fanboy.
Yeah, definitely some fanboying going on here. Netter called it quite right, and those are some of the wonderful memories I have of Olivia Newton-John, and I'm sorry if I haven't left you enough time to talk about her yourself, Boomer.
No, it's okay. I mean, I don't know if I could add too much to it. I know her from Greece, and she was always a presence. Of course, Get Physical. Who doesn't forget that song?
Is
right?
there anything left to say, Troy?
Yeah, I haven't. We've got another article to cover on her because
DJ Odyssey, welcome.
But and it was during Greece that and that was definitely the turning point, right? When she went from the sweet, innocent to a little bit more risque. And what really solidified it for me was there was a promotional poster going around of her in that, very tight leather pants that, she was actually sewn into. She couldn't put those on and off. If she had to go to the bathroom, they had to literally rip the seams so she can go to the bathroom and then sew her back into them. So she literally dehydrated herself so as to be able to get through the filming without having to do a costume change. It was just miserable.
Dedication.
In that scene, she comes in with a cigarette dangling from her mouth, and of course, the sexy scene is she drops it and she crushes it out with her high heels. And seeing her with that cigarette, I know that that's some people's thing. They think it's sexy. That kind of bothered me. That was one thing I really didn't like, but there was no indicator that in real life she was a smoker, so I got over it.
There was a rewatch on Big Al's channel last year. You can check it out. The link below for a rewatch of Grease if you want to watch along. That's
right. Thank you for dropping that link, Big Al. That's why you got a blue wrench.
I have to say though, I am sad to see her go. In fact, I was surprised when you were saying in your thing. about the fact that the Xanadu soundtrack did well, but the movie didn't. That's odd.
That was a recurring theme, right? Between
Huh.
that and Two of a Kind, the films didn't do well, but the soundtracks did very, very well. Personally, I think Two of a Kind was very. I think that falls to marketing. I think it was very mismarketed. Um, and a lot of people ended up catching it on cable because cable was starting to become popular then, and it left the theaters rather quickly and went right to I guess we'd call it streaming these days.
Yeah.
But yeah. But
Here's the latest story. Should I go ahead and read it?
yeah.
Olivia Newton-John, dead at 73. The star and Grease icon dies of breast cancer.
I actually put together some notes about that too. If
Yeah, would you like to
continue
take
to
over?
indulge me? Yeah, instead of
Yeah,
actually
go right
reading
ahead.
the specific article.
Yeah, go ahead and take over. It's fine.
So Olivia was primed for another comeback in '92 when she compiled her third hits collection, Back to Basics, the Essential Collection, 71 to 92, and had planned her first tour since her physical trek 10 years prior. Shortly after the album's release, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, forcing her to cancel all publicity for the album, including the tour.
I remember when
She
that was
received,
going on. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, she received her diagnosis the same weekend her father died. Olivia recovered and later became an advocate for breast cancer research and other health issues. She was a product spokesperson for the Live Kit, that's LIV, a breast self-examination product. She was also a partial owner in the Gaia Retreat and Spa in Byron Bay, New South Wales. Olivia's cancer diagnosis also affected the type of music she recorded. In '94, she released Gaia, One Woman's Journey, which chronicled her ordeal, co-produced by Newton-John and ONJ Productions. Gaia was originally issued by Festival in Australia, but also distributed by various independent labels in Japan and Europe. In 2002, there was an American distribution by Hippo Records and a subsequent re-release in 2012 by Green Hill. It featured an alternative cover photo. Gaia was the first album on which Newton-John wrote all the music and lyrics herself, and this endeavor encouraged her to become more active in songwriting thereafter. The single, No Matter What You Do, entered the Australian top 40, and the second single, the environmentally themed Don't Cut Me Down, was also used in the film It's My Party. The Latin-fueled Not Gonna Give Into It eventually became heavily showcased in concert performances. The Way of Love was featured in the telefilm A Christmas Romance, and Trust Yourself was incorporated into both the TV movie The Wild Girls and the theatrical flick Sordid Lives. In 2005, she released Stronger Than Before, sold exclusively in the United States by Hallmark. This was the second exclusive album from Hallmark Cards after her successful first Christmas album, 'Tis the Season, with Vince Gill, 5 years earlier. Proceeds from the album sales benefited breast cancer research. The album featured the song Phenomenal Woman, based on the poem by Maya Angelou, that featured guest vocals from Diane Carroll, Beth Nielsen Chapman, Delta Goodrum, Amy Holland, Patti LaBelle, and Mindy Smith, all survivors of or affected by cancer. The following year, Olivia released a healing CD, Grace and Gratitude. The album was sold exclusively by Walgreens, also to benefit various charities, including YME, National Breast Cancer Organization. The CD was the heart of their Body, Heart, Spirit Wellness collection, which also featured a rare branded Live Kit and breast healthy dietary supplements. She re-recorded some tracks from Grace and Gratitude in 2010 and re-released the album as Grace and Gratitude Renewed on the Green Hill music label. The renewed CD included a new track, Help Me to Heal, not featured on the original album. In 2008, she raised funds to help build the Olivia Newton-John Cancer and Wellness Centre in Melbourne, Australia. She led a 3-week, 228-kilometer walk along the Great Wall of China during April,
Wow.
joined by various celebrities and cancer survivors throughout the trek. The walk symbolized the steps cancer patients must take on their road to recovery. She released a companion CD, a celebration in song, the following month in Australia and later worldwide, featuring new and previously recorded duets by Olivia Newton-John and friends, including Jan Arden, Jimmy Barons, John Farrar, Barry Gibbs, Delta Goodrum, Sue Ho, Richard Marks, Cliff Richards, Melinda Schneider, Amy Skye, and Keith Urban. In 2016, Olivia Newton-John teamed with Amy Skye and Beth Nielsen Chapman to form a trio of for the album Live On. Newton-John was featured in the Uniglobe Entertainment's breast cancer docudrama, a 1 a minute, released in 2010. The documentary was made by actress Namrata Singh Gujral, sorry if I destroyed that name, and featured other celebrities who had survived breast cancer or who were affected by the disease. During the same month, Blue Water Productions released a comic book featuring Newton-John to coincide with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In May of 2017, it was announced that Olivia's breast cancer had returned and metastasized in her lower back. Her back pains had initially been diagnosed as sciatia, S-C-I-A-T-I-A, don't know the pronunciation of the word. She subsequently revealed this was actually her 3rd bout of breast cancer, and she had a recurrence of the disease in 2013, in addition to her initial 92 diagnosis. With the 2017 recurrence, the cancer had spread to her bones and progressed to stage 4. Newton-John experienced significant pain from the metastasized bone lesions and had spoken of using cannabis oil to ease her pain. She was an advocate for the use of medicinal cannabis. Her daughter Chloe owns a cannabis farm in Oregon. On August 8th, August 8th, 2022, Newton-John died from cancer at her home in San Ynez Valley, California. She was 73. Tributes were paid by John Travolta, Barbra Streisand for some reason, the Prime Minister of Australia, and many other celebrities. The state of Victoria offered to hold a state funeral for Newton-John, which her family has accepted, though they plan to have the body interred at her ranch in California. As a mark of respect, many places in Melbourne and Sydney lit up many of their landmarks. Done.
It's sad.
That is a life well lived.
Yeah, I think she did a lot, not just career-wise, but also a lot for others, too. I mean...
To battle cancer for 30 years.
Wow.
And do so much for people fighting with it. Come on. That's a hero.
Yeah. Oh, I think definitely, yeah. I would classify her as a hero. And I'm sad that she went, but she's probably lived a fuller life than most, so...
Absolutely. I left, Netter was joking with, did I leave anything out? Yes, I actually did. She had a number of lawsuits that changed the course of the music industry that I didn't even get into. Yeah, exactly. So
she'll live on.
Yep.
People will be listening to her music, watching her films.
Love her music.
Looking at her.
If there's a single song or film that I mentioned that you've never heard of, look into it, and you will thank me for it.
Yeah, I'm sure her albums are still available on physical media, obviously, but you can probably.
Yep.
I wonder.
Absolutely.
I wonder if she has. Sometimes they do album collections where you can get the whole set, where like for reasonable price. I might look into that for Olivia Newton-John, but
Well, definitely look into those three best of albums that I mentioned.
I do have the
They're really
Xanadu
good
soundtrack.
collections.
I do have the
Good, good,
Xanadu
good.
soundtrack because it came with my Xanadu DVD.
There you go. There you
It was
go.
like a bonus. You got the full soundtrack. But an angel on earth and now in heaven. Couldn't said it better myself. In fact, she played a muse in Xanadu, right? It'd be
Yep.
funny I could see that.
I shared, of course, a link to one of her songs on Twitter, and I had wanted to share that GIF of Kira, bursting into light and flying upward, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
I understand, and it's very sad. She
Yeah.
was a living legend, and she will be missed. But she's left behind a great legacy, and a lot of people talk about leaving behind their legacy. Sometimes people I feel are less than reputable individuals. This is someone who has genuinely left behind a legacy, and
even as we tongue in cheek talk about her, risque period.
right.
I never heard anything, truly negative about her personal life.
No.
She had some problems with a couple marriages, but I mean, who doesn't, right?
Right.
And who knows what the details are there? Nothing scandalous ever came out about her that I'm aware of. No talk about drugs and alcohol or none of that kind of thing. And she really, really did. She dedicated herself to helping people and being positive. I cannot think of a single negative thing. I mean, she's almost like a female Mr. Rogers here,
I remembered when after she had battled cancer the first time and got through it, and she was back. She and Travolta were being interviewed for Grease's anniversary, and they were like kind of in similar outfits or something, or at least something that evoked that. And they both looked great, even so many years later. And good on her. I mean, you could just tell.
I love the fact that she and John, they truly had chemistry together in both of the films they were in together.
Yeah.
But I think that comes not because there was any romantic inclination between them, more because they were such good friends. And they both kept bringing that up in interviews. They talk about each other, and it was very clear that they were truly lifelong friends.
And I'm glad. And sometimes you hear about co-stars not getting along. Like I heard a famous story of Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand not getting on for
someone not getting along with Barbara Streisand. Shocker! Who would have imagined that?
Yeah, that was for.
You get the impression I don't care much for Barbara Streisand.
But anyway, no. But I'll say
when
this.
she passes, you can talk about her. I don't have anything.
I'll say this though: Barbara Streisand probably still respected her as a fellow singer, though. I'll say that. And you
clearly
can't say anything bad about Barbara Streisand's voice, at least. I mean, it's
true.
Barbara Streisand, Chris Christopherson. What was the name of the movie? I hate it when this happens on air.
I love Chris Christopherson, though. Yeah.
This movie's.
I know. I can even picture the film poster. The two of them facing each other. I don't know. Somebody's going to put it in the chat. Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson. A Star Is Born. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, somebody remade that too, didn't they?
It's been remade. That was number 3. They remade it again recently. The idea behind A Star Is Born. It's not so much that it's always remaking. It's the fact that Hollywood tries to do the same story over and over again, but in different settings. They were supposed to do one in the 90s. I'd heard the one in the 90s was going to be about the hip-hop industry, but it never got off the ground. But I think the first 2 was movie industry, then with Barbara Streisand music, and I think with this last one with Lady Gaga was also music. But they changed venues.
I'm telling you that Hollywood needs to learn. I mean, I am no fan of Barbara Streisand, but that is absolutely a classic movie. Yeah. You don't remake classic films. If you want to see the film, you go watch the film.
But my argument is that this one has been remade 4 times. There was a version in the 1930s.
Yeah, I didn't
In
even
the
know about that.
1950s, it's like every 20 years they would
Yeah.
remake it. That's why they should have gotten one done in the 90s, but it didn't happen. But like I said, it's
Yeah.
I didn't see the one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga though. But the Catman, aka Dee Dee Myers, welcome. We were reminiscing about a genuine star, not just of movies but also of music,
Yeah.
Olivia Newton-John, and we are sad to see her go. She will live on, and let this not be the last time we ever talk about her. I think she should come up again, and we'll remember
Not a
her for her
problem.
music and
Not a
stuff.
problem.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll be
she's
doing some watch parties again in the future.
yeah.
Maybe I'll do Two of a Kind. That's one that I don't think a lot of people have seen.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we will now move on from an angel to a devil.
I guess he dresses in red, right?
Oh my goodness!
Oh gosh.
If this gentleman's remember, or sorry, if this whatever
Yeah, you can't even say
is
gentleman.
identifying
This
this
they them is
performer,
remembered. Yeah.
this performer is ever remembered, it'll probably be for infamy at the rate this performer is going. Let's move on to the Flash star. Ezra Miller charged with felony burglary in Vermont. Yeah, I think I forgot. I think
He gets around, doesn't he?
Birdman was thinking this is becoming some scary stuff. He was
from Hawaii to Vermont. He's this is now a multi-state thing. So this is going to become, I guarantee you, although what we're covering is a local charge, he's eventually going to get charged with a felony. You watch.
Ezra Miller, the embattled star of Warner Brothers' The Flash movie, has been charged with felony burglary in Stamford, Vermont, according to a Vermont State Police report. You know, when I first saw the headlines, I'm like, oh, they're finally bringing charges for past stuff. Oh, no, this is new stuff.
Yep. This is a new one. This is a breaking and entering. Yeah.
According to the police report, Vermont State Police were notified of a burglary complaint from a residence at Stamford at 5:55 p.m. on May 1st. Police found that several bottles of alcohol were taken from the residence while the homeowners were not present. After collecting statements and looking at surveillance video, police found probable cause to charge Miller with felony burglary into an unoccupied dwelling. So you walk into someone's house, you take something that belongs to them and walk out. What is that? That's theft, right? Yes. Yeah. It's not. I don't care that it's alcohol. Alcohol can actually be sometimes rather prized, especially if they're like rare vintages of wine or other drinks, right? So you just don't do this. Did he know the people, or are these just random people he walked in their house and just took it?
I don't see that it makes a significant.
I don't see that it makes
a
difference, but I'm trying to think what his justification for doing it was.
I don't think he's got Joker logic going on in there.
I'm just thinking it's like the Flash, more like the Reverse Flash. That's what I'm starting to think with Ezra Miller these days.
Yeah.
But police located Miller on August 7th at 11:23 and issued him a citation to appear in Vermont Superior Court on September 26th for arraignment. According to a Rolling Stone investigation in June, Miller has been housing a 25-year-old mother and her 3 children, who are between the ages of 1 and 5, at the actor's home ranch in Sanford, Vermont. The property doubles as an unlicensed cannabis farm and has several firearms on the presence, according to the report. One source who spoke to the Rolling Stone alleged that a 1-year-old child was found with a loose bullet in their mouth. It's unclear whether the Stanford properties are one and the same. This is the latest controversy to befall Miller, who has been at the center of scandals for the better part of this year. They were addressed twice in Hawaii this spring, one for disorderly conduct and harassment, and once more for second-degree assault. Miller is facing several allegations of abuse from different women around the world, including choking a woman in an Icelandic bar, harassing another woman in her home in Berlin. You know, I can't help but think if he was finally charged with all of these and finally given sentences or whatever, what would this amount in jail time at some point?
I have no idea, but Rosefire brings up a good point, and I don't know the answer to this. He's got a number of warrants out for him. He hasn't been found and arrested yet, has he?
What is going on with this? Yeah, I guess he finally got cited. Throughout Miller's arrest and controversies, the question of whether or not the solo Flash film will be canceled or released in theaters next year has persisted. Last week, over Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav reiterated that the Flash is still a go, saying, "We have seen the Flash, Black Adam, and Shazam 2. We are very excited about them. We've seen them. We think they are terrific, and we think that we can make them even better." Okay, whoa. That last line, we think that we can make them even better. Let's think about that. After several delays, The Flash is currently set to theaters June 23rd, 2023. Variety has reached out to Miller's representatives for comment. Now,
well, keep in mind, we've got another article that's coming up.
That's less than a year away, though.
Yes, but even though that's the current schedule, I've been hearing that they're pushing it out for some reshoots. Now, some of those reshoots we know about. We know about replacing, certain smaller characters and changing the storyline because there seems to be some change in what they're going to be doing with DC going forward. We don't have specifics, but we have generalities. But there is some speculation that they may very well be completely refilming this whole film.
Is this dude literally trying to break every law in the book? I'm really getting afraid that, especially with this situation on his ranch or farm or whatever the heck it is, with all these guns lying around, I'm afraid someone innocent is going to get hurt.
Even before we get into speculation of what could happen, let's just go with what we've seen happen. I think a lot of people are getting very upset about this very double standard in the enforcement of the law these days. How certain people get charged and other people get ignored. And I think we see that starting to turn around because of the backlash. We didn't get into this. It's not on our notes. We probably won't get into it till next week, but there's more news in the Alec Baldwin case about, looks like he pulled the trigger. So I think a lot of people are going to get really upset if they don't pursue that. Is he exempt because he's rich, Democrat, pretty boy, Hollywood elite, above the law? And I think a lot of people are saying the same thing about Ezra Miller here. Hollywood elite, alphabet community, he's above the law. They're not going to be able to hold, hide him behind those things much longer.
Netters Network is asking, how does he even still have a job? Why hasn't he been blacklisted?
Well,
I'm very cynical, and I have an explanation, I think.
Well, but we're going to be getting into that a little bit in the next article because it's very possible that just because we don't know what's going on with the Flash doesn't mean he hasn't already been blacklisted, and he may already be out of work.
I'm being my cynical point of view, and I'm not saying this is the case. It may not be, and we're going to get into this argument. If I was being cynical, I would say they're waiting for him to screw up so badly that he goes to jail, and they don't have to worry about actually firing him.
I don't see that necessarily as cynical. I mean, if that's their plan, I would see that as
they need to recast.
Maybe
they're
cynical?
working on casting it right now. I don't know.
I've been in a management position, and I've had to terminate people's employment, and I have withheld taking that action because I knew that they were going to do additional things that I could put into their file. Basically, I referred to it as giving them enough rope to hang themselves so that when I finally had that conversation with them and said, you're fired, why are you firing me? I'm not firing you. You fired yourself. There's this. And even after I warned you, you did this and this and this and this and this. The thing goes on. And I think that people like Zaslav and the people at Warner Brothers have absolutely every right to drag their heels and just say, okay, we'll take another one and another one and another one. Now, anyone tries to argue that we're being biased in against an LGB person in doing this, you try. And here's another thing: the trades are turning against him too. Yeah. The trades, and you're gonna. I don't know if it comes up in the next article that you're talking about, but people are starting to get upset and raising, hey, you canceled the Latina Batgirl. Why does the white boy get to keep his show? Yeah. Well, he's now the white boy. He used to be the they them,
right.
pretty person, and now he's become a white boy. That means the LGBT community has turned on him because they don't want that kind of representation.
Maybe they want the media to turn on him, and that makes it easier.
They already have, but yes, that does
rather than
help.
It being. I mean, maybe Zaslev's being smart about this. We'll see. I can't see them releasing it with Ezra Miller at this point. It will tank, and it's going to hurt the property overall. Because I mean, whatever you'll say, I don't know how bad this Batgirl movie was. We'll probably never know, but I don't know if I don't think the lead actress playing Batgirl was running around, stealing alcohol from people's residences.
So, Auditor Dredd brings up a point. He says the double standard is pretty apparent. Compare him to Johnny Depp, who had allegations against him and was canceled. Meanwhile, Miller filmed reshoots back in May of this year. Privilege. I won't disagree with you about the privilege, but again, I do see this as Zaslav just saying, okay, fine. You want to give him that privilege? I'll just keep taking and taking and taking the fuel, and there will be no armor for him any longer. Let's see what happens if and when this Flashpoint film ever does get released. Keep in mind, it hasn't been yet. It ain't over till it's over, and when it finally comes out, will he even be in it if it comes out?
So let me go ahead and read it. It's reported the Flash movie is in danger, which surrounds the latest problems faced by star Ezra Miller. With it said, hold on, did I go too far in the article? Nope, I did. Okay, it's reported the Flash movie is in danger, which surrounds the latest problems faced by star Ezra Miller. With it said, Warner Brothers Discovery is eyeing 3 possible scenarios responding to what to do with the film. Latest trouble the actor is facing is that Vermont's Child Services Department is now involved in it and is attempting to locate a mother and 3 children who live with Miller at his home. But Miller responded, stating they haven't lived there for a while. Rolling Stone reports the Vermont State Attorney's Office said Miller's response seems like an attempt to evade service of the order, and according to the court document obtained by the site, Ezra Miller was also recently charged with felony burglary. We just read about that, accused of stealing beer from within a residence while the homeowners weren't present, which resulted in Miller being given a citation for a future court appearance. According to THR, as a result of all the problems of the late Warner Brothers Discovery and CEO David Zaslav are contemplating the future 3 scenarios to deal with the situation. First scenario is that Ezra Miller will seek professional help after returning home to his farm in Vermont after being away, where as of late he has been accompanied by his mother. If that happens, Ezra Miller could do an interview explaining his erratic behavior and then go on to do press for the Flash movie. We've seen this happen with actors before. Remember Hugh Grant after he was caught soliciting? And I think he was able to still come back from that. That being said,
and I understand
there's a big difference between that and what Miller's been.
I was just going to say, and I understand why they include that as an option, but let's be honest, that's not an option because the big difference is this involves some very serious illegalities that go beyond.
I have to say something else. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of people can argue that solicitation is a victimless crime. And a lot of people look at it that way. But things like burglary and firearms and unlicensed cannabis and stuff like that, these are not victimless crimes. Those are outright serious laws. And he's got charges brought against him that involve minors. And if you get put on a list about, your relationship with pudding people, you will not be able to film any movies or market films that are geared towards children. That will immediately end his affiliation with DC Comics.
Because superhero movies, especially The Flash is actually a very kid-friendly superhero, if you think about it. Or he's supposed to be, at least. And I'm going to say something, too. I forgot about Hugh Grant. When that thing happened with Hugh Grant was still a loved actor. I don't know that Ezra Miller has a big following. Are there Ezra Miller fans? What has he done? He got a big break by being cast in the Fantastic Beasts franchise and also in this Justice League. So he basically got handed these
interestingly,
roles.
Those 2 big roles are not where he gets his fandom from. His fans are all LGBT people that, see him as some sort of a, red carpet.
So maybe Zaslav is waiting for that group to turn on him That way he doesn't have to worry about a backlash from that group.
I don't blame him for that.
That might be what it is. Yeah.
You strike from a position of strength, and the stronger, the more of this that happens, the stronger Zaslav's position of strength gets.
Okay. Second scenario is that if Ezra Miller doesn't reach out for help, the Flash could still get released, but Miller wouldn't be involved in the press tour or with promoting the film, and the role would be recast for future films and appearances. So basically they're going to try and advertise the Flash movie without the Flash in the promotions.
Yep.
Oh, please. They'll feature, what do they do? They'll feature Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman, and
I'm thinking that Supergirl's
maybe
being
Ezra
taken
Miller.
out of it. I'm thinking that the Supergirl is going to disappear from this story.
Oh my word! The third scenario would be that if Ezra Miller's situation continues to get worse, the Flash movie will be scrapped in its entirety and wouldn't get released. Miller plays multiple characters in the film, so the flick couldn't be reshot, which would see a huge $200 million loss. They keep saying this. How do they know?
In fairness, well, yeah, and I question some of the numbers they're using for that determination. Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge brought up an excellent point, though, about the possibility of filming, because everyone keeps saying, well, they can't refilm because he's in too much of the movie. Yeah, but is he, though? The way they film these kinds of movies, most of what he filmed was in front of green screens. They could easily have one single person come in to replace him and film a bunch of scenes in front of green screens.
Let's see. Presently, Grant Gustin is trending on Twitter, who plays the Flash on the CW, and will do so for one more season. And fans want Gustin to replace Miller in the feature film, but again, Ezra Miller is basically in every scene of the film, so it would. They keep saying this. Grant Gustin, though, he's gay. He doesn't.
Is he? Okay.
Yes, but he. Not that he.
But you know what? There've always been actors that were gay.
Of course, I don't.
Going back to like the time of Casablanca.
I don't care. I care if you can do the job and not break the laws on your off time.
Right.
You know, there's nothing. It's. Recently did see David give the film high remarks and investors call, so the Flash is still trying to release in 2023. This is what I personally think. I think he still wants to do a Flashpoint style movie. I think it's going to get reworked, and it may even get redone from the ground up. That's what I think could happen.
And this is what a lot of people are stumbling over with Zaslav's most recent comments about the film. When he talks about the promise of this piece, how happy they are with the script and stuff, they're not talking about Ezra Miller. They're talking about the idea of using Flashpoint to reboot the DC universe. Guys, look at this as a positive. They want to use Flashpoint to reboot the DC universe, which is what we've been saying they need to do all this time.
Now, my question is, do they want to reboot the DC universe, or do they just, or does that mean recasting the actors, or do they just maybe keep the actors, like keep Ben Affleck and
if they're smart,
Henry Cavill?
If they're smart, they will recast the ones that aren't popular and keep the ones that are. Look, regardless of how you feel about the Snyderverse, Cavill is a very popular Superman.
People like Cavill.
Gal Gadot is a very popular Wonder Woman.
Everybody loves
Aquabro is a very popular Aquaman.
And
you drop Ezra Miller and replace him. You drop what's his name, the one that played Cyborg, replace him. Yeah. You know, and drop the woke diversity hires, which they've clearly already started doing, and save them for down the line. There's nothing wrong with Batgirl and Supergirl and all this stuff, but you don't bring them in all different, you know, all whatever way. You bring them in the classic fan beloved way.
Here's what they probably want to do. They may not even necessarily want to replace all the actors, even Ben Affleck's Batman. I don't know if they want to replace him. I think what they probably want to do is they might want to get rid of all these story arcs like Man of Steel and Batman,
and that's something you
Superman,
absolutely could do. If you do a Flashpoint story then you can keep certain actors, replace others, and you can tweak retroactively the stories before them.
I now have thought of how Black Adam can work based on things you told me about. He's being set up as the major big bad villain of like some arc they're going to do. What if they release the Black Adam movie and it's like, well, yeah, he's kind of just like a badass superhero. You know, he kills people, but you know, he's doing the things that need to be done. And what if this is to trick the audience into thinking he's really not that bad, and then eventually it's revealed, no, he really is the villain all along. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like kind of like Superman
There's
versus the Elite. Remember the Elite story
Yeah.
for Superman versus the Elite, and it's, you know, you're kind of thinking like the Elite were like these disrespectful, but you know they're taking out the bad guys. So can you? What if it's a trick saying you really don't want a hero like Black Adam? Maybe that's what it is. We'll see if that's where they're going, and maybe they shape him. Maybe it becomes like Dracula Untold, how I wish it would be, where it starts out, you know, he's supposed to be the savior, and then maybe you learn he's really the nightmare waiting to happen.
And I do have to say, to Mr. Matchstick's point, actually Rosefire is commenting. Rosefire, you should really make sure you subscribe to Mr. Matchstick's channel. He's got a lot of great commentaries coming up about that includes me and Aged Boomer on his channel, talking about some of the animated DC productions. He's got great ideas about what DC should be doing on film, and we talk about that a lot, both on his channel, my channel here, and over on the MeWe group that we've set up for fixing the DC universe. So.
You know what? Who would I get to play Lobo? Maybe he's too old. Remember the guy that played Putty on Seinfeld? He does a lot of voice acting. He did Kronk in
Actually, I wanted to see him as Captain Marvel, Shazam.
Oh, really?
You know?
Yeah.
He would have been perfect. Yeah. He would have been perfect for that.
Okay, but there's Mr. Master. We will be on there Tuesday, talking about some in a way. Troy and I are doing our celebration of PBS.
I guess you're right. From our perspective, that's true.
Yes, anyway. Even though technically the show I did started out on Showtime, but it moved to PBS later on. Okay, Disney!
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into Disney.
I don't like talking about Disney because it's just a waste of time.
This next one. It's a
short article, so
it's a short article. Yeah. There's not a lot to it, and I think it's more positive than you're inclined to think it is.
I don't know. It's just for starters, it makes me think of Peter Pan, and I remembered when I think a while back, like the estate or whatever of Jim Barry, I think they wanted to negotiate with Disney. They want to do a live action Peter Pan, and they were like, we don't want to give the money to the children's hospital. Or so I think that happened to Eisner or something. Like they didn't want to pony up. Because, of course, there's a thing where residuals from Peter Pan goes to the children's hospital. That was Jim Barry set that up. That was very generous of him. And, you know, and I don't know if this was true. It was just a story I heard, but it almost like Disney didn't want.
Well, if there's truth to that, you can bet that in this modern age of social media, the fans are going to publicize it, and they are going to hold Disney's feet to the fire.
Another company ended up doing. Yeah, I think what happened was another company ended up doing a live action Peter Pan that was actually very good. I don't know if you saw it. I think was Jason Isaacs Captain Hook in that.
I actually have it on DVD. I don't think I've watched it yet, though. Okay. I have a lot of films.
Actually, a very good edition, and they did the whole thing where, of course, the same actor playing the dad plays Captain Hook, and it was actually a very good edition of Peter Pan. But it wasn't.
Maybe one day when we get a little bit further into, some of the Disney stories and whatnot, as more stuff happens with this, I might want to do a rewatch of a version of Peter Pan and talk about my experience having played John Darling in our high school musical of
that'd
Peter
be neat.
Pan, yeah. In fact, what I might do is I might reach out to my high school friend Chad who played Captain Hook.
Oh, excellent.
Maybe get him as a guest on the show.
That'd be really
That
neat.
might be fun. Yeah. But let's get into this particular article here.
as part of an ongoing effort toward inclusion, towards
Mm-hmm.
is it towards or toward? I'm not going to worry about it. Okay.
Towards.
I didn't write the article. Okay, towards inclusion within the right. Okay, that's the correct use of towards. If you're walking toward, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's a difficult English major here. That's learn the difference between toward and towards, when to use either. That'll help you in life. Okay. Ongoing effort towards inclusion within the theme parks and content that Disney produces. Disney World has recently removed a reference to an quote unquote Indian camp within the queue of Peter Pan's flight attraction at Magic Kingdom. Here's a look at the mural and area of interest as it was seen recently. You can click on in the article. And here's a look at the updated wording in the Q mural, and now it reads Neverland Tribe. It seems like Disney will be rebranding the Indian scene instead of modifying the scene as was previously thought. Unfortunately, as we've noted before, Disney's inclusion efforts are inconsistent. Nearby in a sign for Tom Sawyer's Island still reads Injun Joe's Cave, despite other references to Injun Joe being removed back in January. Okay.
So I will point
well,
out the inherent bias in this particular article.
Yeah.
I think they happen to be of the same mindset as the faction within Disney that would remove everything that could possibly be considered offensive. But here's why I would say that we should look at this as actually a bit of a victory against that. They're not getting rid of the camp. They are not getting rid of these characters. They are not, completely, rewriting history. All they're doing is they're saying, okay, fine. We won't call it the Indian camp. We'll call it the Neverland Tribe. And if you really want to dig into it, the only tribes that you can refer to as Indians are North American, those tribes that are legally recognized within the United States. That's a legal term, by the way.
Yeah, that's
you
what they
can
call
say
themselves.
That's offensive, but Indian rights and Indian reservation and Indian treaties, those are all legal terms here in the United States. So unless you want to change all of those treaties, they are Indians. They refer to themselves as Indians.
Yes.
So this is another one of those times where you have people that are outside of the community deciding to be offended on their behalf.
As usual, I would want to ask that community, how do you want to be referred to? Okay.
And they have invariably said Indians because they're referring to, because they take stock in their legal rights under the term Indian. Right. So, putting that aside, what are we talking about here? Who are these Neverland tribe? Well, they're a tribe of natives that exists outside the United States, so they might not really have a claim to the term Indian. This is a story that was written by a Brit, so I guess that native term. The Neverland tribe actually makes more logical sense.
Okay. How were they referred to in the original work of Peter Pan, written by Jane Barry, I believe? Yeah.
You make a great question. I'm sorry I can't answer that.
I don't know. Maybe they weren't. But the point is this. They're talking about getting rid of Injun Joe, blah, blah. This is Mark Twain. This is what was written in the work, and this is a piece of American literature.
But I do see this as at least...
If you don't like it, then get rid of the ride.
Yeah, and I do see this as a bit of pushback. Not like you're paying
him rights anyway.
Right. I do see this as a bit of pushback by people like Chapek and the powers that be saying, you know what, we will give you this token affirmation and change it, but we're not getting rid of them in this ride. We're not getting rid of this
Tiger
ride.
Lily and the image and the part.
Better not get rid of Tiger Lily.
Yeah,
I mean, I got my own personal feelings about Tiger Lily. You don't get rid of Tiger Lily.
Oh, there was the artist that made Danger Girl did various Disney princess characters. You should look up his Tiger Lily picture.
I've probably seen it. I've probably seen it. I'm thinking also about the gal in high school that played Tiger Lily in our production. So
okay.
Yeah. Don't.
But I just,
Yeah.
It's weird because Disney. I think they used to get accused. I don't think this was always necessarily fair, but like even back in like the '60s, they were like corny and they were like
Yeah.
very saccharine. But now they've taken that to another level with being very PC. Now,
Yeah.
granted, maybe this is Chapek doing a compromise to not get the ride.
And there is a lot. I'm seeing a lot of pushback to this, and so is Disney. The whole thing with the what was the Jungle Cruise thing, replacing
oh please
something with they decided to replace I think it was the totem pole with chimpanzees or something like that, and then they brought in somebody to help brand the chimpanzees so that they would not be laughed at and picked on by the fans. And it's like, really? Do you think there's a bunch of chimpanzees out there getting offended by the way they're being represented in Disney rides? Really?
You know what's interesting? Not that Universal has ever made stuff that people necessarily got offended by in their rides, but you know what Universal does with their rides? They just put in new rides.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Over time, they replace.
And to be fair,
I was going to say, go ahead. I think I know where you're going with this.
Well, my point is though, and I don't have a problem if they replace the rides as long as the ride they replace it with is equal or better than what they're.
Well, yeah. And Universal has the benefit of the fact that there's nothing that they're doing that is so iconic it can't be replaced. Usually, it's like, okay, this Jaws ride. Who's around these days coming to the parks that even remembers Jaws? Maybe it's time to shuffle that one out and bring in this new ride. King Kong, some of those older ones. It's like, okay, it's time to move on to something else. Disney,
those were great rides. The King Kong ride was great.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have
funny later
on.
Unfortunately they didn't bring it to the Orlando park, but they made a King Kong ride based on the Peter Jackson movie, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, okay.
On the island. So they could always do something new with King Kong, like they could do one based on Skull Island maybe now.
Disney has the problem though that their classic cartoons are classic. They are timeless and they are not going to be forgotten. And the fans will push back if you try to get rid of this, that, and the other.
Here's my issue with Disney, though. They want to have their cake and eat it too, and you can't have both things. Like I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that would be fascinated to go to a recreation of the original Disneyland from 1960, whenever it opened, or and actually be able to go into the park as it was created back then. But then people may find things in that park offended. Well, then you decide, are you either going to update with the times but still make your updates good and make them things that people want to see instead of just milquetoast PC stuff, or are you going to try, like, I'll put it to you this way. I've often think there's political correctness, there's the stuff that people might find more offensive, and I think there's a line in between, and you can go in that line be in between if you have to.
Yeah,
I would think. Maybe Disney can go on that line in between, but they want to keep these old rides, and that's fine. But then people start bitching about the kiss at the end of Snow White, even though it's in the original movie.
Yeah,
it's not. It's no consent. But shut up.
I think the vast majority of people are realizing that these people getting offended are literally just looking for reasons.
They're looking for things.
They want to bitch about everything.
For instance, Disney in their Future World, I think, area, they're supposed to be making a Tron ride. And you got me. I love Tron, and I'd love to see them do
I love the way she says half-assed with the @ sign. I never would have thought of that.
Oh, no. Oh, that you notice I haven't even talked about that on the stream because I'm so down on Disney lately. That Pinocchio trailer.
That looks terrible. That looks terrible.
It looks like something they didn't even
look. I have been against these live action remakes anyway from the beginning, and they're just getting worse and worse.
The only one that I was okay with was Cinderella because it wasn't really a remake. It was just we're doing a retelling of Cinderella put out by Disney. But
that Cinderella was actually very, very
They
good.
weren't just redoing the animated movie in live action. They were making it its own thing. So it was all right. I like the lead actress they cast. Helena Bonham Carter's fairy godmother. That's fine. I wasn't offended by that movie, but Beauty and the Beast, just no. Oh, no, and I didn't watch any of the other live action. Actually, Jungle Book was all right. because John Favreau directed that. That might make reason why. But
Yeah.
Dumbo
No.
disaster. Dumbo.
Dee Dee
No.
Myers, they're never happy about anything. No, you're absolutely right. And they're just cultural vandals, is what they are. They're a bunch of spoiled first world kids that have way too much time on their hands, living off their parents, living off the government, that can sit and engage in this philosophy that has no bearing in reality.
I have to read this. In the new trailer, I haven't seen the new trailer. Now girls get to go to Pleasure Island alongside boys, but naughty little girls don't turn the jackasses. We turn to Weez. I don't know what they're doing. Listen to me. There would probably be a different story that would be morality lessons for
Let me
girls
tell you
and
something.
Boys get into different trouble than girls do. At least they.
Let me tell you something about this, what Rosefire just brought up. This is the last thing the groomer company wants to be highlighting by doing a live action film talking about kidnapping children and taking them into servitude. This is not a smart look for the Disney groomers. This is the stupidest thing that they could possibly do.
I don't. Someone they need there's you know how you say turn the ship, iceberg straight. There's no captain. I feel like there's no captain. Like the wheel is just spinning. They put it on autopilot. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, I'll look for that new trailer, but I still don't. Done. I still don't go to the beaches because of that movie. Or you talking about
Jaws? Yeah. He said I missed Jaws. I said, well, you just gotta hope that Jaws misses you. And he said that's when he said that, and I had to point out that for years I was a little nervous in wading pools.
Do you know that the original Pinocchio is considered by a lot of film historians, whatever, might be the greatest animated movie ever made? It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
The techniques used in that.
Yeah.
Disney, they couldn't reduplicate the techniques they used in those first 5 later on. I'm not saying what came after are bad films. There were some great classics, but those first 5 Disneys, and Pinocchio in particular, is an incredible work of art. And to remake it and then dump it on Disney Plus, and I know. Okay, so Marvel Studios reportedly hires new writer to reshoot Disney Plus's Secret Invasion. Okay. I'm so excited. The MCU's infiltration by evil Skrulls will soon be underway in Marvel Studios' upcoming Disney Plus series, Secret Invasion. I'm confused by this because I thought the whole point of that Captain Marvel movie is that the Skrulls really aren't evil. They're just refugees trying to find a home. What do they want?
I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with why.
That was just one Skrull group. The rest are bad. These were. Let's move on. I don't care. The show will star the one and only Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury as he teams up with Ben Mendelsohn's Talos to fight back against a group of shape-shifting aliens who have been on Earth for years, creeping into the world's governments and wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
Little is otherwise known about the plot of the series, but several cast members have been announced, including Olivia Colman, Emilia Clarke, and Marvel veteran Kobe Smulders as Mariah Hill. Along for the ride is actor Chris McDonald, who is perhaps best known for his work in 1996's Happy Gilmore. It's not clear who McDonald is portraying in Secret Invasion, but he had several intriguing details to offer in a recent interview. Speaking to awards-focused Secret Invasion star Chris McDonald mentioned that Marvel has brought in a new writer for the show's reshoots that has, as he puts it, amped it up. The director, Ali Salim, is fantastic, and it's a delight to play this storyline because it's really, really good. We're actually heading back to London on Tuesday to do additional scenes. They're doing reshoots in a way that makes the story better. Apparently, there's a new writer in there. He's amped it up, and the series is going so much deeper than before. Additionally, the actor sang the series praises, and his wonderful experiences working on it. He also offered an interesting tidbit concerning his character's ability to be part of any storyline in the Marvel Universe. I have
Yeah.
to tell you, it checked so many wishes off my bucket list. First of all, working in the Marvel Universe and working with great actors is so wonderful. What I can tell you about my character is that he can sneak in and out of any storyline in the Marvel Universe. It's always nice to hear when an actor in one of these high profile Marvel Studios productions is having an enjoyable and rewarding time working on it. It's especially cool to see McDonald discuss how Secret Invasion has fulfilled his ambition to play a character in the MCU. Of course, it's completely unknown exactly who this new writer is. McDonald didn't mention them by name, and with the huge number of script writers working in Hollywood these days, it could be anyone. What's important, though, is that they seem to be having a positive impact on the series and that they've added a lot of depth to the story.
I'll tell you right now, whenever you have a situation where you have a big name star being added to a cast and you don't know who he's playing the villain. When he says, I can, slip into any, he's playing a Skrull. No big shocker there.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and series wasn't perfect, but I did enjoy it. And they never acknowledged the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series in the Marvel movies. So I don't even know if that show is even canon anymore. I don't know if it's gone the way of the Netflix Marvel series. What I do find interesting about this series, these series now have to be integrated into the MCU. Like, I don't think they can ignore these series now, right? They're all part of the ongoing MCU now. Is that right?
They have the option.
Well, they'll mention WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness, I think, briefly or something
Yeah.
Like there are events that happen and that apparently have impacts on future Marvel movies. Is that right?
But then the writer for WandaVision had totally forgotten that the MacGuffin for that series was already introduced in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And what is their answer anytime that something like that comes up? Oh, multiverse. So multiverse is going to be their answer anytime there's any kind of canon.
Is it the Darkhold? Is that what they called it?
The Darkhold, right? Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, why couldn't they just have them get a hold of it again?
Multiverse.
But I don't know that what happened to Agency would have to violate reintroducing the Darkhold.
Multiverse. That's the answer. Multiverse. It's all.
That was actually Ghost Rider, and I'll say this: I know typically I don't like the quote unquote all new, all different Marvel. I didn't mind the newer Ghost Rider.
I love the new Ghost Rider. Yeah,
I thought he was pretty good, and I actually thought it might have been neat if maybe you could have had the original Ghostbusters be a guy from the 70s, like an evil type, and he could be introduced into the story. And in fact, also I got the impression that he didn't have the same spirit that the original Ghost Rider had. It was a different.
Oh, I wasn't clear on that, but
even if it is, the Rider does pass all throughout time, right?
Yeah.
So it might make sense that this character from the 70s, it might pass from him.
A lot of people pointed out there was nothing to say that the Nicolas Cage films couldn't be directly.
Oh, that would have been neat if you could have had Nick Cage with the new Ghost Rider in the.
And Nick Cage would have done it too, because that would have given you the.
That would have been neat. Yeah.
What was his name? Reyes? Was that the kid who played?
Yeah. Reyes is the last name. Yeah. And he was good on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I like
going back to Nicolas Cage, and then that would bring Sam Elliott into the lineage too.
Sam Elliott was another one because it passes.
This is how you build pathos, But you know what? Let's screw all that. Multiverse. Yeah, and David Penzak, multiverse, multipass.
Except when it doesn't make sense, and the lead actress on Ms. Marvel points out, "Hey, I know this better than you do," Kevin Feige.
And he's like, "Screw it, multiverse."
Yeah, I know. Jon Favreau tried to save Iron Man in Avengers Endgame. Yeah.
We were going to comment on that. I don't know if you feel like you want to get into that. That might be old news.
Iron Man director Jon Favreau, I'm just going to mention, it's a short article, tried to save Tony Stark from his Avengers Endgame fate. During an interview with Vanity Fair, the Russo brothers explained how they received a phone call from Favreau begging them to reconsider. Part of the pressure not to kill Tony Stark came from Jon Favreau, who called us up after he read the script and said to us, Are you really going to kill Iron Man? Revealed Anthony Russo. He did, yeah, added Joe Russo. And I remember pacing on the corner of the stage on the phone with Favreau, trying to talk him off a ledge. Iron Man debuted in 2008 on under Favreau's direction, essentially kicking off the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it. But Favreau also appeared throughout the MCU as Happy Hogan, Tony's security chief and best pal, so it's nice to see he was still in Tony's corner. Tony Stark's death in Avengers Endgame was one of the most powerful moments in the entire MCU, cementing Iron Man in legend while providing the perfect explanation point to Tony's story. But Favreau was having none of it because he's like, "You can't do this," said Joe. "It's going to devastate people, and you don't want them, walking out of the theater and into traffic. We did it anyways." Ultimately, writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely agreed with the Russos. This was the perfect note for Iron Man to end on, and it made so much sense. Everyone knew this was going to be the end of Tony Stark and McFeely. We had the opportunity to give him the perfect retirement life within the movie. Added Marcus, he'd already got that. That's the life she's been striving for. Are he and Pepper going to get together? Yes, they got married. They had a kid. It was great. It's a good death. It doesn't feel like tragedy. It feels like a heroic finished life. Iron Man fans may feel his absence to this day, but it was heroic and Tony deserved. I have a lot of issues with Iron Man's death in that movie. For starters, the fact that Robert Downey Jr. I felt was the cement holding the whole MCU together. I'm sorry,
I can't argue that with you because if you look at the results, and it wasn't just him though. I mean, they've really undermined not just Iron Man, but they basically killed off Captain America. They kind of character assassinated him too. But that's a whole other issue. The whole legacy of Captain America. Thor has become a frickin' joke. The Hulk now has been completely pussified and whipped.
I liked Edward Norton's Hulk, and then they recast Mark Ruffalo, and I tolerated it because I still like the Hulk as a character, but I argued in the MCU, Iron Man probably ended up becoming my favorite because Iron Man was the guy who would figure out a way other than self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I know self-sacrifice, it's this big thing, but I like the idea of the hero figuring out other ways than.
And I agree.
Because your life is important too.
Yeah.
Every
and I agree
young boy
with
watching him, looking up to the hero. Your life's important too. It's not
and I agree with what Matanui is saying, but what you're saying, Boomer, you're right. Being self-sacrificing is very heroic. Being self-sacrificing when you're married with a kid, it's kind of incumbent on you to be heroic by finding another way.
Now, in defense, I understand in that movie, that scenario he got stuck in, there was no other choice and he had to do it.
Yeah, just like Superman didn't have a choice but to snap Zod's neck, forgetting the fact that they wrote it that way intentionally.
Well, they wrote it that way.
Once again, the writers are undermining the male father figure, right? Take out the father. Pepper doesn't need a husband to raise her daughter, and she could be Iron Woman until the new female diverse ingenue takes over as Ironheart.
I wouldn't have wanted to put Tony Stark in that position, and you could have had Tony Stark around to mentor future heroes, maybe a future Iron Man.
And this is also
they had originally set up an Iron Man 3, and they threw it out because of Ironheart. Remember the kid he meets in the country in Midwest?
And
he gives that lab. I knew the kid was in Jurassic World. They were setting him up.
Not to mention that
Iron Man and Tony Stark will be the mentor. Then I think that's before they got the Spider-Man license, so they kind of switched.
Not to mention Tony Stark is supposed to be one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe. He's a freaking genius. He could have come up with a solution.
My point
but I guess the writers weren't that smart.
I know. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Justice for Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Y'all remember? This was
this was a story from a couple years ago where Rick Moranis is just walking down the street. Some punk just cold cocks him. And they caught it on video, and everyone was calling for this guy's head. Well, here's what happens.
Yeah, this was from a while ago. This was a big news story, and I was actually rather horrified. Was this during, like, right around the time of the Summer of Love, or before that?
Yep.
I think,
It
yeah.
was during all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Marquise Ventura, 37, will be sentenced to 2 years in prison after pleading guilty to felony assault stemming from his attack on actor Rick Moranis, 69, in late 2020. Well, at least he pleaded guilty. Ventura, who faced up to 3 years in prison, was promised the sentence. Oh, never mind that last statement. Okay, was promised the sentence for pleading guilty to assault in the second degree, along with 6 additional charges that pertain to 4 other victims: attempted assault in the second degree, petite larceny, and 4 counts of assault in the third degree, according to the Manhattan District's Attorney's Office. The Daily Mail reports. As documented surveillance footage captured the assault, with Ventura wearing the I Heart New York sweater, abruptly punching Moranis in the head, knocking him to the ground. Luckily for Moranis, the injuries weren't too severe. He immediately went to a nearby hospital with complaints of pain throughout his body, including his head, neck, and right hip, but he has since recovered.
Good.
Ventura has been arrested more than 13 times and is also a suspect in additional unprovoked attacks throughout the streets of New York City, among them being a Soho liquor store owner that saw him make off with a bottle of champagne. This guy's a criminal.
Yep.
He should be in jail. I'm glad he's getting sentenced. At least something is going right. Probably deserve more time, especially from the sound of it, but
yeah,
sometimes it's better than no time, I guess. Yeah.
Number one, keep in mind this is what this happened in New York, right? I mean, this is the fact that any justice happens in New York is a shock. This is one of those cities that wants to defund the hell out of the police. But not only that, I do want to point out that you bring up he had other charges besides the attack on Moranis. It's not that he deserves, any special punishment because it was Rick Moranis.
No,
even though Rick Moranis is a national treasure. But be that as it may, he is. Yeah.
I wonder if it might have been a regular Joe if they would have let it go. I think because Rick Moranis was a celebrity and got the attention. It makes it harder. Would to look the other way? Yeah.
Would the video footage have come out that would have even caught him in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
So that does help, right?
Yeah. Because then it gets national attention. People are like, "Oh, I know that guy," and
it puts the pressure. And that might we may have just answered my question from before. It's a surprise that this happens in New York. Well, New York was held to the fire by the public because when this kind of stuff gets out, you can't just sweep this stuff under the rug.
Yeah. Unfortunately, lots of crime is happening in New York to this day. It's getting worse. I feel bad for people who live in that city right now. But like I said, you have to, and this doesn't, I'm not even talking about parties, just within the own parties, you have to pick people who will be good on crime. You know what I'm saying, right?
True.
Making sense. Okay. Cobra Kai season 5. Anything left on the Moranis story you want to say?
No,
Okay. All right, Cobra Kai season 5. I guess this, after Stranger Things is done, this is the next big thing people are looking forward to on Netflix, right? Netflix has released a batch of first look images for season 5 of Cobra Kai, featuring the Karate Kid Part 3 star Sean Kanan returning to the Miyagi-verse as Mike Barnes, and Alicia Hannah Kim's debut as South Korean sensei Kim Da-eun. As Terry Silver, Thomas Ian Griffith calls upon some old folks to put the valley in a stranglehold, Daniel and Johnny are going to need all the help they can get to stop Cobra Kai in its tracks. Teased executive producers Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg about the new season at Netflix's Tudor on Tuesday. Would you have thought 30 years ago that Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso would be allies in the future?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
But that's how it can happen sometimes,
And I do love the fact that somebody behind this looked at the fan theory or the speculation or whatever you want to call it about how really Daniel was the bad guy, and makes a reasonable argument. And they looked at it and said, well, if we're going to be unbiased about it. And then they went with that storyline, and both guys realized, yeah, we were both dicks back in high school. We both did stupid things, you know.
You know, not,
Neither one of them was really a villain. They were just kids doing what kids do. It was the influencers in their lives that were the real villains or heroes, depending on how you look at it. And that plays out then in these stories. And I think that makes for some good stuff. And you see the same narrative points coming up with the new kids, right? Where they go back and forth on which side they're on and who's the hero and who's the villain. Well, I think every one of those kids is trying to do what's right, but sometimes they get bad advice. Sometimes they let their emotions get away from them.
Daniel got bad advice. Remember
Yeah.
part 3?
Yeah.
And he was buying it, and you know he's all humble when he goes back to Mr. Miyagi. Remember,
Yeah.
But again, he's a kid.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to make mistakes growing up.
And what happens? Mr. Miyagi accepts him where he is, and he forgives him
because he's
you know?
his teacher. He's his sensei. I guess they argued his role changes over the series, but let me see. Mike was the villain from the third Karate Kid film, but foes have become friends in the past. For example, Chosen Toguchi, Yuji Okamoto, is now working with Daniel LaRusso. Isn't it funny?
I love that. Oh, that was one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
You know?
People grow, they get better. You know what kills me? It reminds me, one thing that's always bothered me about the Superman mythos is there's always a part of me that thinks, why does Lex Luthor have to be the villain? And you know he has to be the villain. And then when you watch Smallville, you realize he didn't start out that way.
No, and that comes from the Silver Age too.
Yeah. And actually, I do like, we'll be covering on Matchstick Ring a little while later when they do Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. You get to meet a Lex Luthor from another Earth who's the hero of that, who's a hero on that Earth.
Yeah.
Not a villain, which I like. And it's...
I got to say, too, that the writing on Cobra Kai has so much heart, right? Where you can, even when you really hate the villains, there's a little bit of sympathy that you have for them when you kind of see why they are the way they are. And the heroic characters really make your heart soar. There was the storyline where, and I don't remember if it's second or third season, where Daniel goes to Japan. He's trying to, I don't remember if it was he needed funding or something related to his business. And it turns out that the woman that, decided to, acquiesce to him or help him out or whatever, it was the little girl that he had saved in Karate Kid 2. Turns out it was the same actress, in fact. And I had myself a little bit of a cry over that. I thought that was so beautiful. She said something like, you saved my life. How could I not help you when you need it? Yeah,
it's an honor thing. I mean, I think honor is a big part of Karate Kid, I think. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, new season picks up following the shocking events. Do I want to read this for people who haven't seen it? Or
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, new season picks. Spoilers if you were not caught up. New season picks up following the shocking events of the All Valley Tournament that saw Terry cheat his way to the championship with Tori Nichols, taking the top spot. Her happiness was short-lived, however, after learning she didn't win fair and square. But what will she do with the knowledge that Terry's cheating won her the championship, if at all, is as yet unknown.
Yeah.
So you have to do what's the right thing to do. You didn't really win the championship, so what's the point? That's what I would say. But hopefully you don't know when you're a kid, right? You just got the scholarship to college because of this, that sort of thing, right? I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm not. Anyway, Cobra Kai is written and executive produced by Hild Huweritz and Schlossberg via their production company, Counterbalance Entertainment. Will Smith, James Lasseter, and Kaylee Pinkett's executive produced for Westbrook Entertainment, along with Susan Elkins in association with Sony Pictures Television. Macho and William Zabka also serve as executive producers.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think this could be the next big hit for Netflix. Like I said, I am fair. I have attacked Netflix on the series before, but I mean, on this show, not series.
Right.
But I thought Stranger Things was an improvement over the prior season. I'll say that.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely
Yeah,
got better this season.
yeah.
But I'll tell you
And
what, I
hopefully
know
they
that
can end it on a high note. And we'll see.
I was
how
going to
that
say,
works.
I know that Stranger Things is wrapping up. I know
Yeah.
that Cobra
It's
Kai
good
is
that they
wrapping up.
are wrapping up because sometimes when you let something linger, it
Yeah, it
gets
jumps the
bad.
shark,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah. So
My concern, though, is those two are the things that are really holding Netflix together. If they don't get themselves some more content that people love with that much gusto, Netflix days may be numbered.
they could always do another show based in the '80s, but just have it be a different series. You could even have it take. I don't know if you want it to take place in the Stranger Things universe, but it could be, you know,
Yeah.
in the same vein, but just with different characters, different stories. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? Okay, here we go.
Okay.
My turning the mic over to you.
I'm
This
afraid
isn't
so. Sorry.
no, it's fine because you'll do better than I did because we're heading into the weeds here, folks. This is Batmobile Pandemonium. Part of me, I was like shaking my head a lot while reading these articles. I'm like, this is a joke, right? This is on a number of levels.
I'll tell you what, though, this one is, it does come off as kitschy and I don't know what you'd say, but this gets into some really serious abuse of power and kind of really fits with the world that we're looking at around us. We kind of need a Batman to go up against the corruption in government, So anyway, let me get into it. Drop those. I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to summarize these 4 articles, but this was over the course of several weeks, and each one updates on the last. San Francisco, KGO, Friday, July 29th, 2022. Holy political favors, Batman. That's the allegations against San Mateo County Sheriff Carlos Bolanos for sending a 4-man team across the country last week, that's mid-July, to raid the garage that builds Batmobiles. Turns out one of the sheriff's friends ordered a Batmobile and wasn't happy with how long it was taking. California taxpayers paid for the trip by the sheriff's investigators. 4 round-trip plane tickets, 3 nights of hotels, meals, rental cars, and a lot of overtime. Sam, and I know I'm going to mess this name up throughout this, Anaganasto, a real estate agent who lives in Atherton, California, posted a profile video on his social media saying, "Suddenly the perfect wave shows up right in front of you. You got to be ready to catch it." The profile video shows Aganasto likes expensive toys. He ordered a $210,000 Batmobile from the only builder licensed by DC Comics, Fiberglass Freaks of Longport, Indiana. Pause right there. We're talking about someone in California buying a custom car from somebody in another state across the country.
Yeah.
The fact that this is cross country makes a difference. This is interstate commerce, people. A spokesmodel for the promotional video says, "You wanted one since you were a kid. Now you can have your very own Batmobile, complete with a roll-top dashboard, flashing beacon lights, and detective scope, and even a working flamethrower." Yeah, the afterburner fires.
Oh my goodness.
So shop owner Mark Raycoop has 9 Batmobiles in production. He tells ABC7 News, here we go again. Aganastow was first in line but missed a $20,000 payment. And he disappeared on me for 8 months, almost 9 months. Recoup moved Aganastow to the bottom of the list. He'd have to wait more than a year and a half for his Batmobile. Recoup said he didn't like that. He exploded. He did pay off the entire car at that point, but he was absolutely livid to find out that his car was going to be delayed. Aganastow filed a complaint with Atherton police, but last September, the San Mateo County District Attorney declined to bring criminal charges at the time, according to a letter to the Batmobile builder. Aganasto also filed a lawsuit in San Mateo Superior County Court alleging breach of contract and fraud. But this past March, the judge dismissed the case, saying Indiana is the proper venue. Absolutely right. Why would you, because you live in California, be bringing charges in California for something that's happening in Indiana?
Yeah.
Then sources inside the but hold on to that thought. But wait, dear viewer. Then sources inside the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department told the I-Team's Dan Noyes, I think this Dan Noyes reporter guy is the Batman of this story, that the realtor asked his Facebook friend, Sheriff Carlos Bolanos of San Mateo, to intervene. He sent a lieutenant sergeant and 2 deputies to Indiana. They raided Fiberglass Freaks on July 19th. Remember what I said about cross-state?
Yep.
They were out of jurisdiction. That's what it comes down
they
to.
Had no rights.
Absolutely not. Federal agents might be able to do that, but not San Mateo
or they
cops,
could contact the police in that city in Indiana.
who already declined, right?
Yes, because there was no grounds. But
exactly.
Anyway, yeah.
Mark Reichhout told ABC7, then they showed the warrant saying that they were here to seize anything to do with his car. So I thought, oh, they're going to pick up his car, which is right behind me, by the way. I thought I was gonna have to move my other Batmobiles out of the way to be able to let them take the car. But investigators took only 2 files of documents, according to the search warrant return. Reichhout says they read his Miranda rights, brought him to the local jail for an hour, but let him go. He only later found out they got a warrant for his Gmail contacts and photos, and they froze his bank account and charged him in California for 2 felonies. Obtaining money by false pretenses and diversion of construction funds. I'd say calling it construction funds is really stretching the law. I was horrified. I've never gone through anything like this ever before in my life. I am on the side of good. As a Batman fan since I was 2 years old, this was completely opposite side. I love 66 Batman, and Batman always stood with the law. ABC7 interviewed the San Mateo County Deputy District Attorney prosecuting the case. Now, this is an interchange between reporter Dan Noyes and Marie McLaughlin, San Mateo County Deputy District Attorney. Noyes, you wrote a letter to Reichhout in September of last year saying that there would be no criminal charges. What changed? McLaughlin, additional investigation. The detectives were able to obtain search warrants and obtain additional evidence. McLaughlin would not discuss that additional evidence or the sheriff's unusual step of sending 4 investigators across the country for what Reichhout argues is a simple business dispute. Noyes, after the case went nowhere with the first criminal case, the civil case, is the sheriff stepping in for a friend here? McLaughlin, I can't speak to that. I have no knowledge about what relationship, if any, the sheriff has with the victim. ABC7 wanted to talk to Sheriff Bolanos about Anaganastos and about the use of public funds for round-trip tickets, airline tickets, hotel stays, meals, and overtime. He didn't return repeated calls and texts to his personal cell phone. His office confirmed that he was away for a month of vacation. He will leave office in January after losing the election. The undersheriff now in charge, Mark Robbins, and the department spokesman, Lieutenant Emmon Allen, refused ABC7's request for an interview citing the ongoing investigation. ABC7 ran the case by David Brass, former prosecutor for San Francisco and the U.S. Attorney's Office. He told them...
Tony Brass.
What did I say?
David Brass.
Sorry. Thank you. I thank you for correcting me.
It's okay.
I just can't imagine why in why it's in criminal court. It shocks me that it's in criminal court. He says this squabble over a luxury item, the Batmobile, belongs in Indiana civil court, with no involvement by San Mateo County Sheriff's Department. It simply defies reason, in my view, why so many people, so many high-ranking members of law enforcement would have to go and enforce something so unnecessary and so trivial. Noyce did reach an Aganastow by phone in Greece, where he was also on vacation. He was surprised when they asked about the Batmobile. He said, "I'm dealing with someone privately on that." Noyce asked him, "Who's that?" And he just hung up. Investigating this story, ABC7 learned something more about Rackhaupt, the Batmobile manufacturer. He's a minister. Rackhaupt told Noyce, "It's the only thing that helps me through this, Dan. I should expect trials and tribulations. It's just part of being Christian. And as a preacher, this is an attempt to besmirch my reputation." ABC7 reached the lawyer for Aganastow, who also didn't want to go on camera, but said his client was returning from Greece in a few days, and both of them would sit down for an interview. Rackhaupt told ABC7 he'll be flying to California for the first court appearance in 3 weeks. But then, update, Friday, August 5th, 2002, San Mateo County District Attorney has called off the arraignment for Batmobile builder from Indiana, Mark Rackhaupt. San Mateo County District Attorney Steve Wagstaff is taking that action after watching the first 2 I-Team Batmobile investigations. This is why I say Noyce is the Batman in this one. In this exclusive interview, Wagstaff told the I-Team Dan Noyce he wants to personally review the case, hear once again from both the Batmobile builder and the buyer, and decide if the case should actually be dismissed. Wagstaff canceled the August 19th hearing for Mark Rackhaupt, a minister and owner of a garage in Indiana that builds replica Batmobiles. So again, back and forth, Steve Wagstaff and Dan Noyce. I said, "Hey, what about this, and this? I want some more details before I make a final decision on whether this case will go forward or not." Dan Noyce: "That's a change, though." Wagstaff: "That's a change in the sense that otherwise it was just going to be an arraignment on the 19th of August. Noyce: "What spurred the second look?" Wagstaff: You, candidly." Wagstaff saw the I-Team investigation over the past week, questioning why San Mateo County Sheriff Carlos Bolanos sent 4 investigators more than 2,200 miles to Longport, Indiana to raid Rackhaupt's garage. Noyce: "What role did your office play in planning the approval of the raid?" Wagstaff: "Zero." Noyce: "You didn't know that they were going to be sending a team to Indiana?" Wagstaff: "No, not at all." Wagstaff tells us his staff did approve the search and arrest warrants prepared by the sheriff's investigators, but that in his 45 years in the DA's office, he has never seen a raid like this by sheriff's investigators in another state for a nonviolent theft case. Wagstaff: "If the person they wanted to go arrest was the Godfather in New York City, maybe you go with a few more people, but not in the average one. It's not something that I've seen done." Noyce: "Sources inside the sheriff's department are telling me that this was the sheriff doing a favor for a friend. What do you think about that? What's your take? What are your reactions?" Wagstaff: "I hope not. I hope not." Sheriff Carlos Bolanos remains on his month-long vacation. His office, yeah, I know, right? His office now says he can't talk to the I-Team because he's concentrating on giving answers to the Board of Supervisors about the Batmobile raid. ABC7 News actually had an interview with Sam Aganastow scheduled for the ABC7 studios at 3 p.m. Wednesday, August 3rd, but he bowed out a short time before. His lawyer, Majid Samara, was really insistent, saying Sam wants to clear his name and he has to do this interview. We have to do it now. Now Samara says he's concerned about discussing evidence in an ongoing criminal matter and that Aganastow has been receiving harassing and in some cases threatening texts and phone calls. He shared a few. On Thursday, ABC7 spotted the Atherton an Atherton police car stationed in front of his Tuscan-style house. ABC7 also discovered that what a car enthusiast Sam Aganastow is from the public file on his 2020 divorce. In the final agreement, he gets to keep his Ford F-150, his 96 VW bus, 71 Toyota, 2006 Lamborghini, 2008 Bentley GT, electric golf cart, 2 boats, 2 jet skis, 4 motorcycles, a Vespa, and Batmobile. After Aganastow paid $170,000 towards his replica, Mark Raykaup says he couldn't get in touch with him for more than 8 months and that the realtor missed a $20,000 payment. So Raykaup moved him from the first position to the 9th customer in line. Raykaup told the I-Team last week he did pay off the entire car, but he was absolutely livid when I told him his car was going to be delayed. San Mateo County Sheriff's Office spent at least $10,000 on Indiana Batmobile garage raid, allegedly as a favor to a friend of Sheriff Carlos Bolanos. Steve Wastagaff says, I watched Raykaup's interview by you, and if that is ultimately the scenario, it's a civil case. It's that simple. That's a civil case. On Friday, the I-Team discussed the DA's plans with Mark Raykaup, and he was thrilled, saying, wow, what a relief. This has been a 2-week nightmare. Noise. If you had a chance right now to say something to Sam Aganastow, what would you tell him? Raykaup. I would ask him, do you want your car or not? And if you want your car, you have to stop doing these things because they're only slowing down and delaying your car. And I want to finish your car. That's what I do. I fulfill dreams. I've never not fulfilled the dream of making sure someone gets their Batmobile. And it will be worth it, I promise. Late Friday, August 5th, Aganastow's attorney sent a statement that insisted the realtor is a victim of fraud and that he paid in full for the Batmobile but didn't get it. He says Aganastow asked for a refund, but that Raykaup answered that he no longer has the $210,000. Meanwhile, Raykaup's bank account is still frozen, but at least he's not worrying about a trip to California in 2 weeks. Now, I've got some more written here, but let me sum this up real quick. So think about this. At first, but he paid for it, so he should get his car, right? Or he should get a refund. Well, look, when you are on an installment payment plan, okay, for something this expensive, and your car is partly finished, that money has already gone into the parts and labor for that car.
Yes.
So you cannot then request a refund. You're going to have to wait. Why do you have to wait after you've paid the whole thing off? Because you done fucked up, asshole. You had an agreement to pay on a schedule, and you missed that schedule and went gone for 9 months.
He tried reaching out to the guy.
Exactly. For over 9 months. Where's my money? Where's my money? Okay, fine. He hasn't trashed your car. He hasn't told you you're not going to get your car. He just put you to the end of the line. Karen, get over it.
You know what this
You've
is
talked
like?
to the manager and you've been told that you need to wait in line like everyone else.
This is like an adult child who wants his toy. And the toy maker, the general toy maker says, listen, other people paid in full. They're going to get the priority, at least until I get the payment. You'll still get your car.
Clearly a spoiled rich boy who thinks, all I got to do is throw money at it and I get what I want. And if I don't get what I want,
which is what got you into trouble to begin with. If you had cared so much about this, you would have gotten the money to the guy when it was needed.
Yeah. And I would
maybe
love
it
to.
was an accident. Maybe someone working for you didn't send a payment when he was supposed to. But it's not like this guy didn't reach out to him and try to contact him and say, I didn't get the payment.
Yeah. And so anyway, notice too, though, that bank account is still frozen, right? So for all of this, and he even points out, he's like, it's, how did he say it? Let's see if I can find it really quick. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, Dan. This is the crazy part, Raykaup told us. They say, I'm not building the plaintiff's car, but then they freeze my account, so I can't build the plaintiff's car.
I have a question. Ray Cop, if when that raid happened, when those out of town police came, could he have called the local police and could they have stopped the raid from happening?
I don't know. There are some elements that, because where was he being kept? He went to the local jail. That's where they brought him. So they were probably doing a courtesy to the out of town cops, but that's also probably why he was released. They're like, well, what are you charging him with? You taking him back with you? Okay, well, we're releasing him after an hour. Now, the other thing is a little further digging into the freezing of his assets. The bank, it was frozen under these federal terms that to them implied that what was it? I don't think it's in this article. It was in one of the news videos that I saw, where the department that these cops, this lieutenant was from, was like a narcotics team. So they thought that there was a narcotics charge involved
Is it
here,
like
which
a
there
French
absolutely
Connection
was
thing?
not.
There's cocaine, there's heroin in the gas pipe or something, or some compartment in the car. I don't know.
I'm sure that wasn't said. All that was said was that he's from, among other things, a narcotics division. So that's why they thought, well, he's coming from out of state. He's a narcotics cop, and
Maybe
he's
they're
asking us to
tracing
freeze.
something here. Maybe that's
Exactly.
What they thought. Yeah,
and
okay.
so they acquiesced. But see, unfortunately, that's the kind of thing that could open up a bank to liability. You got to have good cause. And, that's the kind of thing that we're seeing right now with some of the business institutions involving certain truckers and whatnot. So, yeah.
Don't say raid, say search.
Oh, right. Exactly. This is kind of the way that people in power operate, and it really takes. This is good reporting here. This is what reporters are supposed to do. They're supposed to dig and uncover and then take this to the powers that be and shame them into saying, I saw what you put out on the news about this, and I need to look into this, because I'm up for re-election.
So this guy with all the money, he's rich, right? I guess he didn't want to pay it all up front, or the installment thing was an option. This
is what happens.
The energy and just getting the money in the first place, he wouldn't be in this mess.
And I know how
first to get the car. Fine, give me the money.
Yeah, and I understand how this goes. Even with wealthy people, sometimes they're not completely liquid, so they get on a payment plan, and eventually it's like, okay, you know what? Let me just pay this off and be done with it now that I got some liquid assets.
It sounds like he already has a Batmobile.
No. He had it was listed as an asset because he'd paid for it and it was on the way.
Oh, because he'd already paid for it. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he wanted another one.
No. Yeah, this was the lead into.
It's funny
this
that this is an officially licensed product, though, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that that's an interesting thing. I was surprised to find out that this was the only person licensed to do, and this is specifically that George Barris style '66 Batman Batmobile. I'm sure there might be other garages that are licensed to do some other versions of the Batmobile. And look, it's licensing. It works like anything else. DC wants to make their money on it. So for every Batmobile that you're going to make, there's a licensing fee, and that comes out of that $210,000. So that's exactly what he's talking about. He's already probably paid the licensing fee for this guy's car. That's paid already. Some of the materials already paid for. The labor that went into it, he's got employees got to pay. That's already paid. And now you've frozen his assets to do anything else.
What's he trying to accomplish here? Does he want his toy or not?
Well, and that's what Ray Kaup is asking, right?
Wait a minute. No, okay.
You think maybe he just wants his money back at this point?
I was thinking maybe that for a second, but then why would he have already paid it in full, right? Maybe he does want the money back.
That's true.
Maybe he realizes he did.
But who knows what his finances are? If he is like, well, if it's going to get me my Batmobile, I'm going to pay it off, and then subsequently he found himself in a bit of a pickle financially, having done that, and going, well, screw it. I don't think I'm going to get this thing at all, so I'm just going to say, I want my money back. I don't know. I don't really care. What it comes down to is that's not the way the law works, you entitled, spoiled bastard.
It's just like the kid from Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
That's what this is reminding me of. I don't understand this, though. This is, why are the police work? Because they're using public funds to do the search. It's not like he paid them to go there.
Because they're corrupt and they can.
This is the taxpayers funding this.
How
much
exactly.
does that costs? It costs $20,000 to get these guys to and
But
from,
now you caught what I said earlier about him having to now answer to the district. That's the voters. That's the voters that have seen this and saying, why did this happen? Where did our money go? And why are you spending it on this bullshit? And he's already, the sheriff has already lost his reelection. I don't know if it was just because of this. They didn't get into that. But in January, someone else is taking over that position. And you better believe they're going to be under scrutiny. You don't pull this kind of shit again. Guys, this is what it takes. You want to see change in your local or federal government, you raise a stink when you see something going wrong. Don't ever be cowed into silence.
Do you think this Aganasto had blackmail? Maybe was blackmailing the sheriff to do this for him?
No, I think it was just their buddy. He said Facebook friends. You know,
okay.
Maybe he's contributed to an election or something.
Maybe help get him elected.
Taking him to the club or whatever, and they pal around. Maybe gone to a few titty bars or something like that.
So maybe the divorce screwed up his payment plan on this thing.
Oh, that could be too.
And
that could very well be the case.
Maybe
he doesn't have the kind of liquid funds he used to have.
Or had trouble getting it. I don't know why he wouldn't have.
I don't care. Sell your other cars then if you want your Batmobile so bad.
If that's the case, though, just take the hit and go back in line. It's not like the guy said, "Well, I'm not going to make it for you." He'll get it to you, but he has to put priority to the customers that paid in full.
Yeah.
This is just a spoiled brat.
And this is the same kind of thing that Nanette and I talk about when we have service issues. It's what are you looking to get out of this? Because if you want the service that you're requesting, you need to be nice. As soon as you start to get to be an asshole, then you better be prepared for you're not getting the thing you want. And in this case, this is his only option to legally get a licensed Batmobile.
It's funny. I obsess over my Sega Genesis Mini, and I think I'm the last of the big spenders because I'm paying $105 for it, plus $20 shipping from Japan. And I realize there are collectors out there that are far more involved than I am with the things they want. It's like,
and it's another thing. Nanette and I will, and we talk about it sometimes. Some of the stuff that we buy and pay pretty sizable amounts of money for, but we talk about it and, is it something you really want? Is it worth that much to you? Then get the damn thing, and, we'll be talking about, my mother will, say, you're spending all that money on toys. Yeah, it's my money. You got a problem with that, Mom? Okay. It's like, it's not like I'm spending your money anymore. I don't smoke. I don't golf. I don't do any of those kinds of things that my dad did. This is what I spend my money on, and my wife is unified with me on this.
If not, he'd hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's never come up.
You mean you bought your solid gold C-3PO replica?
Right. Well, that's the other thing too. There are times where I'll go to Nanette and I'll go, look, I kind of want this thing. I think I need you to talk me out of it. And she knows how to read me better than I know myself. If I need to be talked out of it, she'll talk me out of it, or she'll just say, no, buy the thing. And she'll talk me into it,
See, I don't have an internet to talk to me about this stuff. Like, for instance, Arrow Video is putting out the Count Yorga double feature set. And I'm thinking, do I want that or not? I got to think about it. Of course, that's only $50.
Own physical media.
I know.
I'll talk to you, Boomer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk to you about it sometime. Yeah, I may not buy it right away. I may wait on it, but yeah, it's I am looking. It is limited edition. Of course, Arrow is usually pretty good. They'll bring out a regular edition after the limited, so you should still be able to get it later.
That's what Netter and I run into too. It's sometimes it's a guessing game. Do we have to get it right now? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's a limited time thing and we really don't have the time to wait. And if we don't do it, it'll never happen. There have been a couple of upsets like that. But then there's other times where it's like, yeah, this is a pre-order. It's not limited. Screw it. Yeah, let's just hold off, you know?
Hanlan's razor never attribute malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity, referring to the blackmail idea. Yeah, like I said, you're probably right. It's probably just, hey, he's my friend, and I don't like people. You make trouble with my friend, I make trouble for you. And
I'm not saying it's malice. I'm saying it's corruption, is what I'm saying.
What on earth, though? He's just a private business guy, and like they said, this really is a civil court issue. This is like someone, like you're having a contract on your house and someone didn't do something they say, you bring it to civil court, and if you, like if the guy owes you $300 for the job, or if you don't owe, you know, it's something like that.
Let me tell you,
civil court thing.
A real friend will give you good advice, right? I've got a buddy who's an attorney. We go to him whenever we think, we want to, make a case out of something, and he'll always look at it and he'll go, well, what do you want to get out of this? And I'll tell you what is reasonable. And he'll usually talk me out of it. He's like, it's not going to go the way you think. This is the way the law is set. Basically and I've learned this from him. He always says, what do you feel you've lost? You need to demonstrate a loss before you can go to court and expect to get something back. He said, really, the cases that pay big money are ones you don't ever want to have, because you've had a huge loss. If you're in a car accident and you break your neck and you're paralyzed from the waist down and you can't see, and you're on a ventilator or something like that, and you get paid big money for taking care of you, well, that's just great. How does that help you? Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel better? Are you going to have a good life now? You're better off never having this. Yeah, exactly. And if you just got your fifis hurt, you're going to put more money into it than you're going to get out of it, and you're going to be more pissed at the end of it. Don't do it. And that's the sign of if not a good attorney, at least a good friend, right?
Man.
Because a bad attorney would take any case and make their money up front, and then you live with the consequences, where he's like, I don't want your money if it's not, a good case.
You look at The Sopranos and how much damage is done on that show with people's fifis getting hurt.
Yeah.
It's just thinking rationally. To be fair,
of course, but that's also not, through legal means, right?
Yeah. To be fair, I think Tony's right hand, he was fairly level-headed, except the one time he lost it was the Columbus Day episode. That's when he got angry and emotional, was doing stupid stuff. But I don't know anything to add to this though.
No. I think we should just cut. I think you got all the important
points. If we
have
updates though, we'll bring them up in weeks.
Bring them to you if there's any updates. Absolutely. That's pretty amazing stuff.
It would be funny if he finally gets his Batmobile, and then immediately after gets into an accident with it in total.
People have asked me what's your dream car? What would you get? If you had FU money. I said I have there is 4, maybe 5 cars that I would get. I would get a 57 Chevy Bel Air. Mm-hmm. I would get a 67 Corvette Stingray. I would get a George Barris Batmobile, just like this one. I would get an 89 Batman Batmobile.
Oh.
And I would get a new DeLorean, not an original, but the made from new parts with new electronics and all that kind of stuff.
We have a car museum in a neighboring town, and they have a DeLorean in the car museum. I've seen one up close.
Yep.
It's rather neat. Yeah.
And I'd need to be able to see it to know whether or not it was an original or not. But there's a company that bought up all the stored parts from what do you call it, from DeLorean, and re-engineered a lot of stuff and re-machined stuff to be able to replace parts for people that have them, and they literally can create from scratch brand new DeLoreans, and in some cases with upgraded and better options. So would be worth it in that kind of a circumstance. And there's a great community out there for replacing, like the bumpers. The bumpers, I don't remember what the material was, but heat tends to warp it so that, I mean, if you think about the front end of a car looking like a face with the eyes, it looks like it's surprised, like its eyebrows are high. That's how you know it's an original. A lot of people replace those with new modified. They look like the original, but they don't warp, you know. And gotcha. As Netter has pointed out, you know, she and her ex-husband used to own one, and that original batch of DeLoreans, when they were brought in, they sat on a dock in California in the salt water for many, many months, and it corroded the electronics inside of them. So all the electronics needed to be replaced on all of those cars. And some of the wiring, I don't know the details about it, but something about how the wiring had to be done into those butterfly doors.
Gull wing.
Yeah, the gull wings. There's a better way to wire them that people have found. So, but you need a new wiring pack to do that. It's very, very interesting stuff to me.
Cool.
As an old gearhead.
No, I mean it sounds like a cool discussion. Sometime, yeah, you should find a gearhead. Maybe I interview him on one of your Friday streams.
Not a bad idea. Yeah, maybe I will.
All right, but I think that wraps it up for us tonight.
Yeah, we didn't go as long as I thought we were going to, but boy,
That's
I kind of monopolized the show, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's you saved me some tongue twisting there, so I'm fine with it. But
you were laughing every time I tried to say Enganas.
It's a hard. Is he Greek? Is that Greek?
I think so. Yeah.
Greece, and that is he like a?
Yeah, he's spending a month in Greece, so I guess.
Aganasto?
Yeah. See, Netter can say it, no problem.
Well, that's fine. Just make your payments. If you don't complain about not getting.
Oh, I mean, it's like Goodfellas. Fuck you, pay me. Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah, but
that's not what the guy's saying either.
No, he's just saying you're not priority if you don't pay. I mean, it's like pre-ordering. It's like, see, I don't know how this would work because I've never bought anything that expensive.
Well, but you can understand the basic concepts when you have a payment plan. You know, I'm sorry, I had you at the front of the line when you were paying me on time. When you not only didn't pay me what you owed me, but then I couldn't get a hold of you for 9 months. Yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to get my money. So I have now shifted you and already made everyone else aware that I'm moving them up. I can't now go back and tell them, sorry, we're moving you back down again.
He'll lose this in civil court, and maybe he'll pay damages.
Absolutely.
Anyways. Sounds like a real swell guy. I don't know why the wife divorced him anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, when she was able to take half of what he had, why wouldn't she?
Well, it's like we've got a car payment. If I miss the car payments, we can have our car taken away completely.
Well, that's true. That's an excellent point.
It sounds like this manufacturer was being fair, and this guy is being a spoiled rich boy, except he's probably much older. So what's going on this week? Tuesday, we are on Mr. Matchstick's channel for Culture Fortress.
Absolutely.
And, I will be doing my definitive Robin Hood show, and Troy might be doing a definitive something else.
Just realized I haven't even told Mr. Matchstick. Hope he's still in the chat, because my plan is to talk about the Jeremy Brett ITV Sherlock Holmes series.
Yes. So we can always shoot him an email too. But yeah, Jeremy Brett, I remember that growing up too. You can catch that on BritBox if you have BritBox.
It's on BritBox now?
Yeah.
It's actually all on YouTube too. Right now, all the episodes are available on YouTube.
I should see if Robin Sherwood is streaming anywhere. I think it is. It might be for free on FilmRise or something. And Wednesday, I don't know if Birdman and I are doing a stream, but I'll double check with him. We did Rambo this past week, so keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
Friday, I won't be there, but you'll be having some.
Friday, I'm being abandoned by my regular designated
just
driver.
This one time.
I know.
We'll see.
But I will be having a special guest bartender, Justice Fat Steven, formerly known as Fat Steven Seagal. I think occasionally still known as Fat Steven Seagal. We'll have to clarify that with him when we talk to him. And we'll be talking about live streaming and YouTube and memes and gaming, which is kind of why I'm a little bummed that you won't be there. You'd probably be able to really connect with him on gaming and stuff. But you'll catch the rerun, I'm sure. But that'll be this Friday. And then Saturday, over on Netter's Network Retro Cinema, we will be watching the, I'd say, classic film, Jim Carrey and Morgan Freeman in Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, I remember Bruce when that came out. I'm feeling old now. That was when I was still an undergrad in college. I remember that was out.
Yep. Good movie. Excellent movie. I haven't seen
Morgan
it in a long
Freeman.
time. Looking forward to it.
Morgan Freeman as the Vicious of the Almighty, which I think works, right?
I think so.
He's got the voice for it. He's got the voice for it, definitely. And
I would love to see somebody do a movie that involves God in that way again, and have God, splice in like the voice of what's his name, George Burns, and have Morgan Freeman show up later as God, and then maybe someone else playing God, and different people who've played God throughout the years. I think that would just be kind of funny.
Considering how Steven Seagal looks these days, he should be renamed as Skinny Steven Seagal.
Oh, has he lost a lot of weight? I didn't know that.
Oh, I don't know. I remembered when Seagal's later movie was coming out, and I heard Roger Ebert saying, yeah, Steven Seagal's in this with Ja Rule, and he's saying, Steven Seagal, the cameras, the way the camera is being shot is trying to hide the fact that he looks like Orson Welles.
Yeah.
He made a comment about that.
Well, what was even worse is not only that he had put on so much weight, but I think he was coloring his beard and his hair, and it looked very unnaturally dark. You can kind of tell.
Fat Steven Seagal is an awesome, great guy. He's got a great channel. Okay,
yeah, he does. He absolutely does. He was supposed to have been on with us last month, but since Canada has become a third world country, their infrastructure shut down and everybody lost internet, so he couldn't make it on the show. Yeah, it was just ridiculous.
I think
so that's another thing we'll probably be talking about is the third world status of Canada now.
I think that was an episode of the South Park, right? Like the guys were saying, the internet's gone out. Okay, quick, go to the Judge Report, find out what's going on. We can't. The internet's out. Oh no! Like they didn't even realize that the thing they were trying to find out news going online.
That is what pisses me off when our internet goes out and we get on the phone and we call the company and they're like, all circuits are busy. Da 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 da. For more help, you can go to www. I'm like, no, I can't. That's why I'm calling you, you dumbasses.
For all of y'all out there, it never hurts to have a basic radio in your house, just in case everything else goes to crap.
Yeah, we actually have not only a basic radio, but it's a crank one.
There you go.
We have you just every so often you turn it a few cranks and it keeps running. There's a little dynamo inside because you can't be certain that the batteries are going to work. And we also have a hand torch, a flashlight that's got a hand crank on it.
Oh, that's
and it can be used to with a USB port. You can use the hand crank to power up other devices as well.
Cool.
You can recharge my phone, in other words.
To rename Skinny Steven Seagal since there is no Skinny Steven Seagal. Oh, I see. All right. Well, anyway, I like Justice Fats though. Come on, that's a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good week, and we'll see you through. See you during it. Okay.
Sounds good. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.